Your chest tightens before you even see the message. It starts as a prickle under your collarbone, then turns into a hot wire pulling your thoughts toward the worst-case scenario. Shoulders climb, jaw clicks. The room narrows until your vision is nothing but that one line of text, that one face, that one imagined fallout. Your pulse kicks like a foot on a locked door. You hear yourself snapping in your head, or going silent, or crafting a heroic speech you will never actually give. Sound familiar? Here's the turn you've been missing. There is a small, deliberate switch inside you, older than your habits, quieter than your fear, that lets you choose your response, not your reflex. In the next hour, you'll feel it in your hands, install it in your nervous system, and learn to flip it in less than 60 seconds when pressure spikes. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about becoming unstealable, clear, and kind on command. Start with the simple biology. When you feel cornered, your amygdala pulls blood from your thinking brain like a blackout curtain. You don't lose intelligence, you lose access. The Stoics didn't have fMRI machines, but they had a method. Pause the storm, sort what's yours to control, and take the smallest wise step. We'll translate that into a modern nervous system tool you can run under fire. Call it the Stoic Switch. It has 4 moves: touch, breath, name, aim, and each one is designed to steal blood back from the amygdala and return it to your prefrontal cortex. You don't need a mountain, you need 60 seconds and your body. Feel your feet. Really feel them, all 10 toes pressing the floor. Let your exhale lengthen, counting 4 in, 4 hold, 6 out. That extra 2 on the exhale is a lever. It signals your vagus nerve that you're not in mortal danger. As you breathe, touch the edge of something nearby, mug, table, wristwatch, and anchor your attention to the texture. You are redirecting the RAS, your brain's filter, from catastrophe to contact. The mind insists the fire is out there. You teach it that the handle is in here. Now give the feeling a simple name: anger, fear, shame, rush. You are not announcing a verdict. You are labeling a weather pattern. Finally, aim at one sentence that begins with "Today, I can control." The sentence will be small on purpose. The smallest wise step is your doorway back into choice. In a fluorescent conference room last winter, Maya felt the heat rise in her face as a client dismissed months of work with a shrug. Her reflex was to argue each point, to flood the table with proof. She felt the old script lining up behind her teeth. Instead, she pressed her thumb to the spiral of her notebook, felt the paper bite, and took 1-4-4-6 breath. She named it quietly: anger and the fear underneath. The room was still painfully bright, but the edges of things came back into focus. She found her aim: today, I can control, asking for the exact concern behind that sentence. When she did, the client revealed one buried metric that mattered more than anything else. 20 minutes later, the project stayed alive. No miracle, just a switch. Notice your own body right now. Is there cool air on your nostrils when you breathe in? Is your tongue pressed to the roof of your mouth? Unclasp it. Let your shoulders drop 1/2 inch. The Stoic Switch is not a mantra you whisper at chaos. It's a physical sequence that interrupts the reflex and opens a window. After the window opens, philosophy can walk in. But first, it's carpentry: wood, hands, hinges. There's a second tool you'll install today, and it's shorter than a song. Call it the 90-second weather rule. Neuroscientist Jill Bolt Taylor popularized a simple observation: the chemical surge of an emotion in your body dissipates in about 90 seconds unless you keep re-triggering it with thoughts. In practice, this means you can survive any inner storm by giving it 1.5 minutes of dignified space. Let it crest. Watch it pass. The mind will try to feed it with what-ifs and imaginary arguments. The practice is to notice the feeding and put the spoon down. For 90 seconds, you become the sky, not the thunderhead. Try it now. Pick a mild irritation. Maybe the message that didn't arrive. Maybe the chore someone promised and didn't do. Bring it up just enough to feel the velocity in your chest. Start your timer in your head. For the first 30 seconds, feel your breath move like a small tide, 4 in, 4 hold, 6 out. For the next 30, keep your eyes on one spot, door frame, light switch, a leaf's edge, and keep naming the sensation without commentary, tight, hot, prickly, heavy. For the last 30, bring your palm to your sternum and press gently, like you're meeting an old friend at the door and resting your hand on their shoulder. Whisper in your mind, not me, but in me. When the minute and a half is over, check the weather. Is the storm as tall? You just proved the rule to yourself. In your kitchen on a Tuesday night, you will use this when a loved one tosses a careless phrase that hooks your oldest bruise. Your reflex wants to shoot back or freeze or walk away banging cupboards for punctuation. The switch begins in your soles. Feel the coolness of the tile. The breath lengthens without drama. You touch the counter's edge. You name it, hurt, and the hunger to be seen. 90 seconds become your sanctuary room. You are not delaying the conversation. You are choosing the person who will have it. When you re-enter with a nervous system that isn't screaming, you can ask for what you actually want instead of trying to win. Let's thread the science through your day so it isn't theory. When arousal spikes, cortisol and adrenaline rise to make you fast and loud. Useful for sprinting, disastrous for listening. The long exhale raises parasympathetic tone and tilts your chemistry back toward presence. Labeling recruits language centers that sit near your prefrontal cortex, subtly pulling activity forward. Touch grounds you in real-time sensory input, which your RAS prioritizes over imagined threats. A small aim shrinks the problem until your brain can hold it without dropping it. None of this requires belief. It requires rehearsal. Rehearsal starts before the alarm. When you wake, sit at the edge of your bed and run one phantom drill. Touch your bedside table. Take 1 4-4-6 breath. Name the heaviest feeling arriving with you into the day. Aim at one sentence that governs your next hour. Today, I can control finishing the first small task before opening my messages. You are laying track ahead of the train. The mind loves to argue with plans at a high altitude. It struggles to argue with gravity and breath. Let the body lead, and the brain will follow. Feel the air on your forearms now. Notice the temperature difference between your inner wrist and the back of your hand. This level of detail is not indulgence, it's power. Stoicism is often caricatured as stiff upper lip, but its core is freedom through attention. You are training attention like a lens, moving it from threat to control, from blame to agency. Every time you do, neuroplasticity thickens the pathways you are using. Wires that fire together, wire together. The Stoic Switch is not a slogan, it's circuitry. There will be days you forget. You'll hear yourself say the thing you promised not to say. Afterward comes the ache, then the story about how you're broken. Here is the counter story. You are running an old program on new hardware and the code is learning. When a lapse hits, run a post game in 30 seconds, not 30 hours. Where was the first body signal? What was the smallest missed aim? Write one sentence in your notes. Next time, feet first. Then breathe. You are the awareness, not the mistake that passed through it. I want you to picture your mind as a weathered lighthouse at the edge of a gray sea. Waves batter stone, wind claws. Inside, a keeper moves with deliberate steps, checks the wick, shields the flame, and turns the lens with a steady hand. The storm doesn't stop for the keeper, and the keeper doesn't beg the storm for mercy. The work is the same in sun or squall. Touch, breath, name, aim. This is not about never feeling, it's about never abandoning your post. At work, the inbox will flash red. Your pulse will jump. Instead of sprinting into the digital fire, take one step back from the desk so your heels touch your chair's base. That physical cue is your switch. You breathe 4-4-6, eyes resting on a neutral object like the wall seam. You name it urgency. You aim at triage. Today, I can control answering 2 high-impact emails before anything else. 15 quiet minutes later, you have shifted your day's arc. The reflex would have made you busy. The response makes you effective. In relationships, you'll be tempted to manage other people's weather. Don't. The Stoic move is clarity about your circle of control. You don't control their history, their motives, or their speed. You control your tone, your boundaries, your willingness to pause. The switch keeps you inside that circle like a warm room with a door you can choose to open. When you speak from that room, your words land differently. They are not thrown like stones, they are placed like cups of water. As the sun sets, you close the day with a micro-journal to teach your nervous system what to repeat. 3 lines. First, name one moment you flipped the switch, even if clumsy. Second, describe the precise sensation that told you it worked. The loosening jaw, the widening angle of vision, the voice dropping half a note. Third, write tomorrow's first aim. This is not about judgment. It's about training the keeper's hands to move without reaching for the old alarm bell. Pause and check your breathing again. Is the exhale still longer? Can you hear a distant hum, refrigerator, traffic, a fan, and let it be a metronome for the calm that is already here? In that quiet, here is the identity turn that will stabilize everything else. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the sky, not the weather. You are the keeper, not the storm. When you forget, the switch brings you back. When you remember, the switch keeps you steady. Either way, it's yours. Before we close, install a 1-minute ritual you can deploy anywhere. Call it Pocket Stone. Keep a small, smooth object, a coin, a bead, a ring in your pocket or bag. When heat rises, find it with your fingers. Feel its temperature, its edges, its weight. Breathe 4-4-6 while tracing a circle around it with your thumb. Name the feeling once. Aim 1 sentence. The stone does not have magic. You do. It's a door handle to the room you keep forgetting you own. In a dim hallway years ago, I watched a man almost ruin a friendship over a misplaced joke. He froze, eyes glassy, breath shallow, and then visibly he came back. His shoulders sank. He touched the banister, slow, as if remembering gravity. He said, "Give me a second, I'm hot," and then he laughed at himself. 90 seconds later, he told the truth gently and asked for the same. They both smiled, half embarrassed, fully human. The joke was still dumb. The friendship was still intact. A switch had been flipped in an ordinary hallway, and 2 lives were better for it. Feel your feet again. Notice the weight of your body meeting the chair. Let your jaw soften. The reflex is ancient, and so is your capacity to choose. You've learned 2 levers, the Stoic Switch and the 90-second weather rule, and you've already felt them work in your own lungs. Keep them close. We'll layer more tools on this foundation, but the foundation is enough to change this week, this conversation, this single electric minute when it counts. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to stay with yourself, steady and kind, when it matters most. You've flipped the first switch, and now your nervous system knows the feeling of returning home under pressure. Today you'll build the map that keeps you there. Call it the control compass. It has 4 points: internal, influence, interface, and irrelevant, and it turns a foggy moment into a navigable minute. Internal is what you can command right now: breath, posture, words you choose next. Influence is what you can shape over time: expectations, norms, your reputation. Interface is the meeting point: agreements, calendars, the literal place where your world meets another's. Irrelevant is everything you can watch without lifting a finger: other people's moods, yesterday's outcome, random opinions on the internet. When you feel the reflex rising, you spin the compass. You place your attention on internal first, then decide if influence or interface needs a small move. You leave irrelevant alone without ceremony. This isn't apathy, it's precision. Feel the chair beneath your thighs. Slide your palms along the edge and notice the grain or the smoothness. Take one breath in for 4, hold 4, and send the exhale for 6 like a warm ribbon. As you breathe, silently ask the compass question, which point is mine? If the answer is internal, lower your shoulders and soften your gaze. If it's influence, jot one sentence you'll revisit later. If it's interface, open your calendar and move a meeting or send a small clarifying line. If the pull is toward irrelevant, picture a gentle hand setting the item on a passing conveyor belt. Let it move away without arguing. Here's how the compass lives in a messy room. You're at your kitchen table, laptop open, a half-finished coffee cooling to the color of old wood. A message pings. A teammate missed a deadline again and the client escalated. Your reflex is to type a sharp paragraph, copy your boss, and close the loop with an edge. Instead, you run internal, breath 4-4-6, feet pressed flat until you feel the bones expand and settle. You relax your jaw by touching your tongue gently to your bottom teeth. The anger doesn't vanish, but it becomes a shape you can hold. You run interface. You write one line to the client acknowledging receipt and confirming a new check-in time today at 3 p.m. You leave influence for later, a private conversation about reliability and workload. You let irrelevant float by, the comment thread where everyone airs their hottest takes. You chose your response, not your reflex, and the day bends. To sharpen the compass, bolt on a second tool, the 3-perspective reframe. In 90 seconds, you will see the same moment 3 ways and select the most useful angle. Angle 1 is the street view, what you feel from inside your skin. Angle 2 is the balcony, what a wise friend would see from above. Angle 3 is the time horizon, what future you 6 months out will thank you for. In practice, you switch lenses like tapping an icon. Street view, I'm furious, this threatens my work. Balcony, a pattern is repeating, energy belongs on process, not blame. Time horizon, if I invest 30 calm minutes now to fix the handoff, I won't bleed 12 hours over the next quarter. Close your eyes for a moment and listen for the farthest sound you can hear, a faint car, a bird, an appliance breathing. Let it mark the distance between you and the storm. Open your eyes and pick one object with a simple shape. Trace its outline with your gaze. That tiny act is street view returning to your body without shrinking your mind. Now slide to the balcony by asking, what would a calm mentor notice that I'm missing? Then to the time horizon with, what action here survives 6 months of hindsight? Don't chase the perfect answer. Chase the smallest whys, move those lenses agree on. In a loud coworking space, Theo once faced a client who kept interrupting him on a kickoff call. His reflex was to bulldoze to prove he had done the preparation. He felt the heat collecting under his cheeks, the way it always did when someone cut him off mid-sentence. Street view screamed, they don't respect you, balcony noticed. They're anxious about being behind. Time horizon whispered, if you earn trust now, you'll spend less later. Theo slid a thumb along the seam of his notebook, lengthened his exhale and asked, could we pause for 60 seconds to list what success looks like on your side? The client blinked, then spilled the 3 metrics keeping them up at night. 2 matched Theo's plan, 1 didn't. He wrote it down, adjusted the scope, and the interruptions faded. He didn't conquer his feelings, he piloted them. He didn't win the call, he built the next 3 months. Scan your body. Notice the temperature difference between your shins and your calves. Roll your shoulders once and let them fall. Bring your attention to the tip of your nose. Feel the coolness in, the warmth out. The physicality is not decoration. It's the key that opens attention, which is the hinge that swings the mind, which is the door to behavior. You are not skipping the feeling, you are giving it rails to run on so it doesn't tear up the ground. Now wire these tools into your day with if, then calm contracts. They are predecisions your nervous system can cache without asking permission. If my phone rings with an unknown number while I'm focusing, then I will place my hand flat on the desk, take 1-4-4-6 breath, and let it go to voicemail. If a loved one raises their voice, then I will angle my body 12 degrees away and say, I want to hear you, give me 20 seconds to slow my breath. If a colleague misses a deliverable, then I will run the control compass before I write anything. If my mind starts a doom scroll, then I will stand, drink a glass of water, and put the device down for 9 minutes. You build 3 contracts today, rehearse them once, and your future reflex has new guardrails. Picture a late-night argument over the dishes. You're tired, the kitchen hums with refrigerator buzz, the floor is cool against your feet. A careless remark lands like a pebble, then like a stone, then like a boulder rolled downhill. Your chest tightens, your tongue sharpens. Your if-then calm contract lights up. If contempt enters the room, then I step to the sink, run cool water over my wrists for 10 seconds, and come back with one true feeling and one clear ask. The water shocks your skin, sends a parasympathetic signal, snaps you from reflex to response. You return and say, I'm strung and embarrassed that I forgot. I want shared clarity, not points. Can we pick a repeating reminder and both honor it? You don't always get a tidy Hollywood answer, but you keep your side clean. Over weeks, the house changes tone. Let's deepen the control compass with a 6-breath drill called northing. On breath 1, you whisper internal and relax one muscle. On breath 2, you whisper influence and picture the relationship you'll invest in later. On breath 3, you whisper interface and imagine moving one tile on your calendar board. On breath 4, you whisper irrelevant and watch one item float downstream. On breaths 5 and 6, you repeat internal and interface to bookend the action. 6 breaths is shorter than a song chorus, but long enough to pick your hour on purpose. As you sit there, place your hand against your sternum again and notice the pressure. Notice the way the air moves over your upper lip. Tilt your chin slightly downward. Let your eyes rest somewhere gentle. If there's a scent in the room, soap, coffee, a spice from last night, name it. These microsensory cues are the glue that keeps your compass from turning into a concept. You are installing the habit at the level where habits actually live. Sensation, posture, breath, and one clean sentence. At some point, someone will test your boundary. They will push, whether from fear, habit, or simple misattunement. Your reflex may be to fold or to fight. Here you practice boundary as a service, clear, calm, repeatable. First, switch and north. Second, use a 2-line protocol I call calm double. Line 1 acknowledges their aim without agreeing to their method. Line 2 names your boundary and your next step. I hear you want this by tomorrow. I want clarity too. I don't work past 6, and I can deliver the draft by 10 a.m. Thursday. If they continue pressing, you don't escalate, you loop the calm double. You are not a wall. You are a lighthouse repeating the beam, steady, predictable kind. A story from a hallway no one remembers. Alicia's manager had a habit of asking for quick favors. At 5:45 p.m., the reflex was a tight smile and a late train. One Wednesday, she ran the control compass as the manager approached. Internal, slow exhale, shoulders soft. Interface, she slid her bag strap fully onto her shoulder, a physical cue that it was departure time. Influence, in her notebook, she had a list of recurring last-minute asks. Irrelevant, the imagined label of not a team player. The ask came, Can you just take a look tonight? And Alicia used calm double. I know you want this to move, I do too. I'm off now and will read it at 9 a.m. with a fresh brain. The manager frowned, then nodded. 2 weeks later, a new calendar hold appeared. Quick asks, 3:30. Influence had been planted with one steady beam. Feel the weight of your body where it meets the chair. Let your fingertips explore the texture of your clothing, the seam, a button. There is nothing mystical about this. It's engineering. Every physical detail you notice is a stitch in the parachute that opens when you pull the Stoic Switch. Your brain learns to associate sensation with safety and safety with choice. You might worry that this makes you slower, that the world will outrun your deliberate pace. Here's the paradox. You will move faster because you stop changing lanes every 20 seconds. Your attention will stop hemorrhaging. Your words will require fewer repairs. The three-perspective reframe doesn't munch time. It saves the hours you would have spent untangling a mess built in 90 hot seconds. The control compass doesn't make you passive. It aims you where you can actually push and lets the rest float past without a tug of war. Now install a micro-practice called the One Breath Ask. When you need something, information, help, permission, you take one slow breath and craft a request that a tired person can say yes to. Specific, time-bound, and light. Could you send me the last 3 bullet metrics by noon so I can finalize the deck? Becomes, could you send last week's CTR, conversion, and refunds by 12:00? That lets me lock the deck. One breath, one clarity, one step. You aren't shrinking. You're tightening the aperture so the light lands where it's needed. In relationships, use a companion drill. Mirror, name, ask. Mirror their last sentence in your own words to show you see them. Name the emotion you sense without diagnosing it. Ask for one specific next step. You feel like I'm not present after work. You sound lonely and frustrated. Could we do 20 minutes device-free at dinner and I'll set the timer? Humans, including you, respond to clarity like plants to sun. You will forget. You'll crash a boundary or let a reframe slide. The old reflex will celebrate. When it does, you practice gentle debrief in 3 lines. 1. What was the first body cue I ignored? 2. Which compass point did I skip? 3. How will I rehearse the if, then calm contract once tonight, then you breathe. You are the awareness, not the wave that knocked the cup over. You pick it up, dry the table, and keep cooking. As we close this chapter, give your nervous system a gift, the sanctuary minute. Step away from screens. Stand. Shake your hands as if flinging water from your fingertips. Roll your neck in a slow figure 8. Place your feet shoulder width and bend your knees slightly until you feel the quads engage. Inhale through your nose for 4, hold 4, exhale for 8, twice. Whisper internal on the first exhale, interface on the second. Place your palm flat over your heart and feel the beat. It has been here the whole time, steady, older than your fear and kinder than your self-judgment. Let that rhythm teach you what steadiness feels like without effort. Walk back to your life with the control compass in your pocket and the 3-perspective reframe behind your eyes. The world will still toss curveballs. People will still be human, but you won't be dragged by the old hook. You'll feel the tug, touch the edge of the table, breathe the longer exhale, name the weather, and aim the smallest wise step. You will ask for what you need in one breath. You will hold your boundaries with a steady beam, and you will let the irrelevant drift by like clouds that no longer need your attention. You are not here to win every skirmish. You are here to keep your light on. Listen one last time for the farthest sound. Notice the light in the room, the way it strikes the wall, the way it softens the edges of objects. Notice the temperature at your ankles. In this ordinary minute, you are doing extraordinary work, rewiring reflex into response, panic into precision, noise into signal. The Stoic Switch started the process. The control compass and the three-perspective reframe shape it into a way of moving through your days. You will practice imperfectly. That is perfect practice. You are the awareness, not the emotion, the lighthouse, not the weather, the keeper turning the lens. You've built switches and a compass. Now you'll widen the room those tools live in. Call this the window widen protocol. Under pressure, your mental window narrows until only one story fits, the worst one. Window widen has 4 quiet moves. Notice the frame, name the filter, nudge the focus, and next small signal. You notice the frame by asking, what movie am I projecting right now? You name the filter by catching the brain's favorites, catastrophizing, mind reading, all or nothing. You nudge the focus by tasking your RAS, the brain's bouncer, to look for one neutral cue in the scene. You take the next small signal by acting on a 2-syllable verb: sip, stand, save, send, step. This isn't positive thinking. It's optical repair, so your tools can see what to work on. Feel the air on the inside of your nostrils. Cool in, warmer out. Let your exhale stretch to 6. Touch the surface beside you and let texture become a rope you hold. Ask softly, what movie am I playing? Maybe it's the unfair boss, maybe it's the always behind student, maybe it's the partner who doesn't get it. Now name the filter without shame. I'm mind reading. I'm rehearsing disaster. I'm shrinking the timeline to 0. Say it in your head like you're tagging a file. Then nudge the focus. Pick one neutral sensory fact in the room, light on the wall, a hum, the weight of your watch. Finally, take the next small signal. Send one clarifying line, drink water, move a meeting block. Your body steadies, your window widens, choice returns. A Tuesday mid-morning, rain pinned itself to the office windows like a wet veil. Karim stared at an email from legal, 3 sentences that sounded like a verdict. His reflex wanted to sprint, reply all, defend, pull allies into the thread. He felt the heat rise at the base of his neck, a tight braid of anger and fear. He ran window widen. Frame, a courtroom drama where he loses the account. Filter, catastrophizing and mind-reading. Focus, the thud of rain on the glass, steady, indifferent. Next small signal, ask for the exact clause in question and propose a 5-minute huddle. 30 minutes later, the issue shrank to a phrase that needed a comma and a date. The project lived. The rain kept thudding. Karim's neck cooled. He didn't silence his feelings. He gave them a chair and opened the window behind them. Here's why this works. Your reticular activating system acts like a nightclub door guy, deciding which stimuli get past the rope. Under stress, it defaults to threat. When you task it with a neutral or helpful cue, you're not lying, you're redirecting bandwidth to what helps you act. Each time you do this, you teach the RAS to stop chasing sirens and scan for handles. That's neuroplasticity in the wild. It's not magic, just small nudges repeated until the room feels bigger, because it is. Now layer the Emotional Alchemy Ladder on top of the widened window. It's a 5-rung climb you can make in 3 minutes. The rungs are raw, recognize, regulate, reframe, and recommit. Raw is the first surge. You let it exist for 90 seconds without feeding it. Recognize is naming precisely what's alive. Anger with a thread of grief, anxiety with a pinch of shame. Regulate is the physical dial, 4-4-6, cold water on wrists, stepping outside for 3 gulps of air. Reframe is a 1-sentence upgrade that stays honest. This is hard and I can move 1 tile. Recommit is the smallest wise next step, anchored to your values, not your fear. You don't skip rungs, you climb them. Each rung is a cue to the body. We are handling this, not hand-waving it. Scan your body. Notice the weight where your heels meet the floor. Feel the tiny stretch in your calves as you press down. Let your jaw unhook. Place your tongue gently against your bottom teeth. Raw may still be buzzing. Recognize it. Say, anger with heat or sad with heaviness behind my eyes. Regulate now. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 8 once, twice. If possible, add a sensory shift. Palms under cool water or fingertips on a cold mug. Reframe with one grounded sentence. This is not all of time, it's this hour. Recommit with a microverb, draft, ask, pause, file. Alchemy isn't poetry, it's procedure. A story from a kitchen with a hum you can almost hear. Jess found a message on her partner's unlocked screen, a half-flirt old friend, nothing explicit, but enough to poke an old bruise. Her reflex was to accuse, to cross-examine, to slam cabinets as punctuation. She felt her chest flood, breath go shallow. She stepped to the sink and ran water over her wrists for 10 seconds, watching the stream silver and cold. Raw had a place to stand. Recognize jealousy braided with a fear of being ordinary. Regulate 2-4-4-8 breaths, eyes on the curve of the faucet. Reframe, I can ask cleanly, I don't have to perform. Recommit, can we talk in the living room? I'm feeling threatened and I want clarity, not a fight. The conversation was imperfect and human. There were sighs and shrugs and finally, details that made the picture less dramatic and more real. No magic. Just a ladder climbed one rung at a time until ground appeared. Listen now for the farthest sound you can detect. Maybe a truck several streets away. Maybe a neighbor's door. That distance is your ally. It shows you your awareness is wider than the storm. Smell the room, even if it's faint, soap, dust, coffee, ghost. Bring your attention to the ridge where your thumb meets your palm. Press there gently for 3 breaths. These cues aren't extras. They're the bolts that hold your ladder to the wall. To make the ladder automatic, install a drill called the 95 flow. For 90 seconds, you do nothing but feel raw without thought feeding. Then for 5 breaths, you climb the remaining rungs, 1 breath per rung. Recognize on breath 1, regulate on breath 2 and 3, reframe on breath 4, recommit on breath 5. You can run 95 in an elevator, before a meeting, in a bathroom stall, outside a classroom. You are compressing a full emotional process into a pocket-sized ritual that protects both your dignity and your decision quality. There's a companion move that cleans thoughts without war. Call it tag and tuck. When a thought bites, they don't respect me, I always mess this up. You tag it with a specific phrase, I'm having the thought that, then you tuck it onto an imaginary shelf at the edge of your vision. You don't smash it or argue with it. You place it and return to your next small signal. That tag creates a few millimeters of space between you and the storyline. Millimeters are enough. In those millimeters, you can breathe, choose, even smile at your own brain for being such a loyal dramatist. At your desk, try it live. Bring up a recent irritation. Hear the first sentence your mind offers. Add the tag, I'm having the thought that I'm behind and doomed. Notice how the sentence loosens like a not given one more twist. Tuck it. Press your fingertips to the desk edge. Inhale for 4, hold, exhale for 6. Ask, what is the smallest wise next move? Maybe it's opening the file. Maybe it's asking for one missing metric. The ladder and the tag turn a wall into a door. Let's bring this to work where efficiency meets empathy. Before a high-stakes meeting, run a pre-flight called the 3 tempos. Tempo 1 is body, 1 minute of breath and posture reset. Tempo 2 is story, 1 window widen round to spot your favorite filter so you don't drive with it pasted to the windshield. Tempo 3 is aim, 1 recommit line tied to values. Body, shoulders soft, breath long. Story, I'm mind reading, I will ask before I assume. Aim, I will speak once, ask twice. The meeting may still be messy, Humans are not spreadsheets, but your nervous system will be tuned to steadiness, your RAS tasked with signal, and your identity anchored to the observer rather than the storm. You'll also need a repair script for when you do get swept. It's called the bridge back. It has 3 planks: own, open, offer. Own the precise thing without defending it. Open a window by naming impact. Offer the next wise step. I snapped just now, that's on me. I imagine it pushed you away right when you were trying to be heard. I want to restart. Give me 30 seconds to reset, and then tell me your top concern in 1 sentence. Run the ladder quickly while you breathe, then return and keep the bridge open. You are not trying to erase the moment. You are re-entering the room as the keeper, not the wave. Notice the temperature at your ankles. Rub the pad of your thumb in a slow circle over your opposite palm. Hear the breath exit your nose like a soft brush on fabric. If any emotion is live, give it the 95. If any thought is loud, give it the tag. Your job is not to sterilize your inner world. Your job is to make it navigable when the weather changes. There's a day from years ago that still teaches me. A young founder, Myra, watched a demo hiccup in front of her first enterprise prospect. The screen froze, her team's faces tensed. She felt the old hurricane climb her spine. Raw ripped through her, she let it crest for 90 seconds, eyes on the tiny green light atop the monitor. Recognize, fear braided with shame, heat in the cheeks, shallow breath. Regulate, 2 long exhales and a hand resting on the table's cool edge. Reframe, this is a hard moment and it's survivable. Clarify, don't perform. Recommit, let's pause for 2 minutes. I want to show you the exact user journey that crashes this build so you see how we're isolating it. The prospect's lead engineer nodded with relief. The meeting became a joint debugging session, not a performance review. Later, in the quiet of a rideshare, Myra ran tag and tuck on the sentence that kept trying to bite. I'm not CEO material. I'm having the thought that I'm not CEO material. Then she looked out the window and watched traffic lights change from red to green without hurrying themselves. Somewhere between lights, something in her unclenched. She had not conquered fear, she had learned its handles. Now wire the ladder to your values so every climb lands somewhere true. A micro practice called Values Touchstone does this. Choose 3 words you want to embody when pressure rises. Say clarity, kindness, courage. Write them small on a paper you keep near or carve them into memory. At recommit, you run them like a short prayer. Clarity first, then kindness, then courage. The order matters. It keeps courage from turning into force and kindness from turning into appeasement. Over weeks, the touchstone turns your choices into a recognizable signature. People will feel it. More importantly, you will. Check your breathing again. 4 in, 4 hold, 6 out. Feel the gentle pull at the back of your throat, the release in your shoulders, the weight of your legs. You are reprogramming reflexes at the speed of sensation. That's faster than thought. Thought will catch up and write a story afterward, let it. The practice is here, where your feet meet the floor and your hand meets the table, and your lungs write a longer line on the page inside your ribs. You might worry that naming filters or tagging thoughts will dull your edge, make you less driven. The opposite happens. Drag comes from friction you didn't see. Catastrophizing creates detours. Mind reading spawns useless loops. When you clean the lens, your effort transfers into motion. Window widen doesn't make you naive. It lets you see allies, options, timing. The ladder doesn't make you sentimental. It makes you surgical. Suffering shrinks from a fog to a set of screws you can turn with ordinary tools. In relationships, pair window widen with a practice called Ask the Real Question. After you notice, name, and nudge, ask one question that reveals the engine, not the smoke. What would make this feel safe for you? Or what's the part you most don't want to happen? Or if we had to pick one win by Friday, which one keeps you breathing? Real questions puncture the drama balloon and show you the gears. Then you can place your fingers where force actually matters. End today with a closing ritual to teach your nervous system how the day ends when you laid. It's called the final rung. Before sleep, sit for 60 seconds. Whisper the rungs, roar, recognize, regulate, reframe, recommit, thinking of one moment you climbed even partway. Thank your body for helping you, out loud if you can manage it. Place your palm over your heart and feel the beat, steady and undeserved in the best way. Whisper your 3 values. Let your jaw slacken. Let your eyes go soft behind closed lids. This is not performance, it's maintenance. A lighthouse with a well-tended wick shines longer. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the observer who can widen windows and climb ladders while the weather does what weather does. You do not wait for calm, you create it with breath, with names, with small wise moves. The identity you're growing is not stoic armor, it is stoic warmth, heat you generate from the inside that doesn't burn the room. When you forget, the ladder is there. When you remember, the window opens. Keep your hand on the switch. You've learned to flip the switch, steer with a compass, widen the window, and climb the ladder. Now you'll install an operating system that runs these moves without asking permission. Call it the Sanctuary OS. Not a place you escape to, but a protocol that follows you into rooms that heat up. Sanctuary OS has 2 pillars, fieldcraft and failsafes. Fieldcraft is how you place your attention and body in the field so you don't lose the plot. Failsafes are the quiet backups that catch you when you do. Today you'll stitch both into the seams of your day until steadiness is less a choice and more a default. Feel the weight of your clothes on your shoulders. Notice how your back meets the chair, 1 square of contact, maybe 2. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, as if fogging a cool window. Fieldcraft begins with where you put your eyes. Under stress, eyes tunnel, breathing shrinks, posture collapses. Sanctuary OS counters with a 3-step gaze protocol called Horizon, Handle, Human. First, horizon. Lift your chin a few degrees and let your eyes find a horizontal line, a wall seam, a window frame, the top of a screen. Second, handle. Touch a physical edge, letting texture announce you're in the present. Third, human. Pick one face or, if you're alone, imagine the calmest mentor you know and place them in your visual field. This sequence reopens peripheral vision, which signals, not trapped, to your nervous system, drags your RAS away from sirens, and points it towards signal. Under the same pillar lives a breath you can carry into conflict without looking like you're meditating. It's the 4x4 response reset, 4 breaths, each with a purpose. Breath 1 lengthens the exhale. Breath 2 drops the shoulders. Breath 3 softens the jaw and tongue. Breath 4 punctuates with a tiny nod to cue the body that a choice is coming. 4 breaths, 8 seconds of neurochemistry tilt, 1 notch of dignity restored. A Tuesday, neon lights, a stand-up meeting breathing caffeine. You're presenting a decision you know will draw heat. Before you speak, you run horizon, handle human. Your eyes land on the whiteboard's top edge. Your fingers find a marker's ridge. You pick the teammate who listens best and put them in your line of sight. Then the 4x4, long exhale, shoulders lower, jaw soft, small nod. You say, I'm proposing a 2-week experiment with guardrails, and your voice lands a half note deeper. The room's edges widen. The debate still happens, but you are piloting, not paddling in circles. Fieldcraft also includes how you enter and exit scenes. Use the threshold ritual. On the way in, you pause for 1 breath at the literal threshold, doorway, login screen, meeting link, and choose your value order for this room. Clarity, then kindness, then courage, or whatever your touchstone demands. On the way out, you name one sentence you want the room to remember. The brain remembers peaks and endings. You shape the ending on purpose, and your influence compounds. Now install failsafes. The first is stop, but you'll run it as engineering, not a poster. Stop here means C, take stock, orient, proceed. C interrupts autopilot. You look for 3 neutral facts in the scene: time, number of people, the stated goal on the agenda, the color of the door. Take stock scans internal state, heat, breath, muscle tension, story of the moment. Orient aligns to the compass and window. What's internal? What's my current frame filter? Proceed is the smallest wise move you can do in under 60 seconds. Stop is not dramatic. It's the quiet click of a seatbelt before a turn. A story in an elevator that smelled faintly of metal and lemon. Ramon, a new nurse, rode up to a floor notorious for its pace. A senior physician snapped at him for labeling a tray wrong. Ramon's reflex was heat and a barked defense. Instead, he ran stop at floor 6. See 2:14 p.m., 3 people waiting, beeping to his left. Take stock, shoulders high, breath stuck at the collarbone, story, I can't win here. Orient internal breath and voice tone, frame, trial by fire, filter. Compass interface needs a small move now, influence later with his supervisor. Proceed. Doctor, thanks for flagging. I'll relabel now. Can you confirm the order so I learn the standard? The physician grunted, named the order, and kept moving. Later, Ramon logged the pattern and asked for a 5-minute teaching block to standardize trays. Stop didn't make the floor easy. It made Ramon unflickerable. The second failsafe is the 2-sentence firewall. When a conversation spikes, you give yourself 2 sentences that buy clarity and time. Sentence 1 declares intent. Sentence 2 proposes structure. I want the best decision, not to win. Give me 60 seconds to breathe and write the core question, then we'll choose the path. Or, I want to understand and help. Could we take this in 3 steps? Your main concern, what you've already tried, and what success would look like. You voice the firewall calmly. It protects both of you from the fire within you. Feel the air at your ankles. If you're standing, soften your knees 1 degree. If you're sitting, let your seat bones settle into gravity. Your nervous system loves predictability. Sanctuary OS gives it patterns to lean on, even when content is chaos. The mind reaches for narrative. You give it scripts that don't turn you into a robot, but into a reliable keeper of the light. To make this OS run quietly in the background, fuse it with your environment. This is the signal-to-noise audit. Pick 3 arenas, work, home, device, and spend 10 minutes changing one tiny lever in each to make the right move easier. Work. Pin the calendar view that shows blocks, not a screaming list, and add a 5-minute threshold ritual buffer to high-heat meetings. Home. Place a small bowl by the door with your pocket stone so your fingers meet it without hunting. Device. Move reactive apps off the home screen. Put your notes or journal where your thumb lands. You aren't hunting for perfection. You're shaving friction so the switch is 3 inches closer to your hand. Inside the audit sits the RAS menu. You preload your attention filter with 3 cues you want it to serve you when heat rises. Look for neutral facts. Find the human need under the complaint. Scan for the smallest wise step. Write them on a card, set them as a lock screen image, or memorize them. When your RAS asks, "What am I supposed to let past the rope?" you answer before the bouncer gets cranky. A client named Sari once kept a boundary ledger in her notes app after years of saying yes until she resented everyone. The ledger had 2 columns, but she thought of it as currents in a river. One column tracked each time she honored a boundary, the time she declined a meeting without an agenda, the night she didn't pick up a 10 p.m. call. The other recorded the aftermath. The world kept spinning. Sometimes it got better. Over weeks, she had data, not just fear stories. Her nervous system learned that no didn't equal exile. The ledger turned courage into maths. Touch your thumb to the nail of your index finger and feel the smooth and the ridge. Listen for the farthest sound, then the nearest, a breath, the fabric on your arm moving. Those tiny anchors are the difference between an OS that boots under load and one that blue screens. You're building redundancies so a single spike can't crash you. Let's add a method that protects deep work and deep presence. It's the sanctuary block. You schedule one 50-minute focus block each day as if it were a medical appointment. You enter with the threshold ritual, you place your phone in another room, you run Horizon, handle human with yourself as the human, and you declare one outcome that fits in a sentence. If you're interrupted, you deploy the two-sentence firewall kindly. I want to give this my full brain. Can I circle back at 11:30 or should I hand this to X? After, you exit with a micro recap in your ledger, what you did, how your body felt, and one thing to improve. This isn't about productivity theater. It's about giving your brain a daily window where reflex doesn't dictate your hour. Now the relationship version, the sanctuary room. Pick a recurring conversation spot, couch corner, park bench, kitchen table after dishes. You and your partner agree on 3 rules. You both run 4x4 before speaking. You both use mirror name, ask for the opening minute. And either of you can call a 90 and back, 90 seconds of quiet breathing or water on wrists, then return. The room isn't sacred because it's flawless. It's sacred because the OS runs there without debate. Anecdote from a street-level office with flickering fluorescence. Lena led a small team through a launch that kept shifting. A senior stakeholder barged in 2 days before go-live and demanded a scope change. Lena felt the flash. Her reflex was to defend the plan, to make a speech about sunk costs. She ran Horizon, handle human, eyes finding the top edge of a poster with an old quote about craft. Her fingers found the cool aluminium of her laptop lid. She placed the calmest teammate, Yi, in her line of sight, 4x4. Then stop, see Wednesday, 4:12 p.m., 3 people in the room, 10 emails unanswered. Take stock, jaw tight, breath high story, we're being steamrolled. Orient, internal and interface, frame, we are being tested, filter. Proceed, 2-sentence firewall. I want the launch to succeed, we do too. Give us 15 minutes to map impacts and propose options, then we'll decide together. 15 minutes later, the scope change became a phased option. The stakeholder grumbled, then agreed. After the meeting, Lena opened her boundary ledger and logged the moment. She noticed her voice had dropped, her hands had opened, and the room's temperature felt cooler. She didn't win a war, she ran an OS. Let's wire failsafes to repair mode when you do trip. You'll use 3 tiny repairs: breath, bridge, bookend. Breath is one 4x4 round away from the other person's eyes. Bridge is a sentence that owns and opens. I interrupted, that's on me, and I imagine it felt like erasure. Start again, I'll listen. Bookend is the small next step at the end. I'll send notes with the decision and open issues by 5. The repair isn't a performance. It's a return to being the caper instead of the squall. Check your breathing. Notice the cool at the tip of your nose, the slight warmth on the exhale. Feel your feet. Spread your toes inside your shoes or against the floor. Bring your attention to the hinge of your jaw and let it unhook 1 notch. You're teaching your body what steady feels like across rooms and hours, so it recognizes home even when sirens wail. There's a drill for sticky thought loops that don't respect ladders or windows. It's the 3-label loop. You label the thought's content, its tone, and its utility. Content, deadline doom. Tone, alarmist. Utility, low. Then you choose one tiny behavior aligned with a high utility thought. Open the file for 5 minutes. Over time, your brain notices that utility, not volume, earns action. The loop loses bargaining power. For late-night spirals, install Night Watch. When your mind wants to hold a 2 a.m. staff meeting, you give it a clipboard. Keep a pen and card by the bed. When a worry bites, you write one sentence: "Future me at 9:00, call supplier about invoice mismatch." Then you run the 95 flow without sitting up. The brain, satisfied that the guard heard the noise and logged it, lets the village sleep. Night Watch doesn't guarantee dreams. It guarantees that 2 a.m. doesn't hijack tomorrow's prefrontal cortex. At noon tomorrow, practice a micro-resilience called Heat, Seat, Beat. Heat, notice where your body is hottest. Seat, increase contact with the chair or floor. Beat, find your heartbeat by placing 2 fingers at your neck or wrist for 3 pulses. This trifecta grounds you through interoception, the brain's mapping of internal signals. As you map, amygdala flags lower. When flags lower, your speech slows, your questions sharpen, and your dignity returns to your face. In conflict, the OS needs one more subroutine, the Clean Ask Protocol. It has 3 elements you say in order without garnish. Here S what I'm seeing. Here S how it impacts me us. Here S what I'm asking for and by when. You keep it short enough to fit in one breath and precise enough to set a timer too. This is kindness to both nervous systems. It controls your controllables and leaves the rest outside the door like raincoats on a hook. Feel the temperature of the room on your forearms. If there's a faint scent, paper, coffee, a citrus cleaner, let it enter without comment. Move your tongue from the roof of your mouth and let it rest. These micro cues may sound small on the page. In the body, they are canyon-wide. Each one says, "I am safe enough to choose," and the choice is who you'll be for the next 60 seconds. You might wonder whether becoming this deliberate will make you less spontaneous, less alive. The truth is the opposite. Reflex is repetitive, response is creative. Reflex repeats the same argument, the same sprint, the same apology. Response breathes, sees, tries a new smallest step, asks a new real question. Sanctuary OS doesn't box your life. It gives your life corners sturdy enough to hang pictures on. Before we close, run a full sanctuary circuit in 2 minutes. Threshold, pick one value order. Horizon, handle human, eyes on a line, fingers on texture, a calm presence in view. 4x4 response reset, breath, shoulders, jaw, nod. Stop, see 3 facts, stock your body, orient to compass and window, proceed 1 small step. 2-sentence firewall if needed. Clean ask if needed. Bookend the scene with a single-sentence summary. Then log 1 line in your ledger where you stayed with yourself and how your body knew. This circuit is your daily kata. Imperfect runs count. Messy runs count. Runs where you forget and remember halfway count twice. A final story, ordinary and therefore useful. Nor a teacher faced a classroom on a Friday afternoon that had the energy of a shaken soda can. She felt impatience rising, a film behind her eyes, a tightness in her chest. Sanctuary OS booted. Threshold kindness, then clarity, then courage. Horizon she looked just above the back row heads. Handle chalk between fingers, powder and grit. Human she found Maya, the student who tracked with her and let her eyes rest there. 4x4. Stop, then the 2-sentence firewall to the class. I want us to end proud, not fried. Give me 90 seconds to reset the plan, then we'll do 1 focus burst and 1 game. 90 seconds later, they had a quiet 10-minute write and a goofy 2-minute quiz that left everyone laughing, including Noor. After the bell, she wrote in her ledger, "Stayed with myself, hands open, voice low, shoulders down, pride without the pinch." She walked out into late sun and felt the air on her wrists, as if the day were washing them clean. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper who tends the flame while winds do what winds do. Sanctuary OS doesn't replace your heart, it gives your heart a house that doesn't leak in the first rain. Fieldcraft places your eyes, breath, and hands. Failsafes catch you when you slip. Rituals stitch the day into a shape that supports your best self. Practice won't make you perfect. It will make you practiced. And practiced is what steadiness looks like in the wild. You've built a steady inner room. Now you'll wire your environment so it quietly invites the person you want to be. The Stoics called it training in advance, premeditatio. Modern brain science calls it shaping the habit loop in your basal ganglia, so your prefrontal cortex isn't burning calories on every decision. Today you install choice architecture for heat. It's the art of arranging cues, friction, and rewards, so the wise response happens almost by itself when pressure spikes. You'll use two frameworks, the friction flip and dopamine choreography, and a pocket drill called the 2-minute tilt. These make your nervous system crave the moves you've learned, not resist them. Feel the chair against the back of your thighs. Notice the fabric where your shirt meets your shoulders. Inhale for 4, hold 4, exhale for 6. The friction flip is simple. Make reflex paths slightly harder and response paths easier than breathing. Your brain is a conservation machine. It will pick the downhill trail. In practice, you add 10 seconds of friction where you're likely to derail and remove 10 seconds where you intend to stay with yourself. 10 seconds is long enough to change behavior, short enough your future self won't mutiny. If the doom scroll steals you, sign out at night so the morning swipe asks for a password. If late-night arguments find you, place a glass by the sink and a sticky note that says water first. The cold on your wrists becomes your first switch. If anger wants the keyboard, replace reply, all with a 2-step shortcut that forces you to pause at a draft. Friction is not punishment. It's a railing on a staircase you want to climb in the dark. Dopamine choreography is your reward architecture. The neurotransmitter isn't a pleasure juice, it's a promise signal. It spikes when a cue predicts a reward, which means you can train your brain to anticipate the sweetness of calm. You pair the Stoic moves with tiny, immediate wins that your body can feel. The longer exhale ends with the cold of a wrist rinse. The calm double ends with a breath of night air on your skin before you re-enter the room. The sanctuary block ends with you standing in sunlight for 30 seconds on a balcony or by a window. Over time, the brain stops chasing drama as the place it gets its hits and starts seeking the small, trustworthy payoffs you designed. Picture a hallway at 7:38 a.m., the smell of toast and the soft thud of a backpack on the floor. You are late. A teenager refuses shoes. Reflex leans in with volume. This is where the 2-minute tilt earns its keep. Tilt means you tip the entire scene a few degrees toward response by moving 3 levers for exactly 2 minutes. Breathing, body, and bricks. Breathing goes 4-4-6 right away. Body turns 20 degrees to de-escalate dominance cues and opens your hands. Bricks are the physical adjustments in the room that change the narrative. You move the shoes to the doorway, you place the keys on the counter where they shine in the light, you set the timer for 90 seconds and say, "Race me to ready." 2 minutes is not a rescue, it's a pivot. The story changes from siege to game, from disrespect to logistics. You didn't suppress emotion. You redirected energy into a channel where dopamine can reward progress instead of conflict. Listen for the farthest sound. Maybe a car door, maybe the rumble of distant construction. Notice the cool air traveling in your nose and the warmer air leaving. Your RAS is listening for what you tell it to value. When you choreograph rewards around steadiness, the filter will begin flagging the handles instead of the alarms. That is not toxic positivity, it's intelligent training. A client named Matteo worked in a newsroom, all ringing phones and humming monitors, the air flavored with coffee and printer heat. His reflex during breaking stories was speed with a pinch of sarcasm, a cocktail that burned trust. We designed a friction flip around his 3 risk spikes: headline crafting, deadline slipping, and editor pinging. He made the send button tiny on his layout and added a 5-second delay. Friction forced a glance at tone. He set a micro-reward for deadline honesty, saying, "I need 10 more minutes," earned him a walk to the water cooler and 3 sips by the window, a quick hit of daylight. And he created a 2-minute tilt protocol with his team. When pings stacked, they went silent for 2 minutes, breathed, touched the desk edge, and triaged with 3 sticky notes. After 2 weeks, he didn't become quiet, he became precise. His dopamine curve moved from drama to delivery. Scan your body. Feel the temperature difference between your wrists and forearms. Let your jaw unhook. Let your tongue rest low. You're going to add one more tool that stabilizes your day, the Stoic budget. It's a daily allocation of attention, emotion, and courage. Attention is your deep focus time, 2 blocks you protect like a paycheck. Emotion is the compassion you can spend on others and on yourself without going into deficit. Mark the moments you will replenish it. Courage is the small risk you will take that stretches your identity by 5%. 1 clean ask, 1 boundary, 1 truth told kindly. Budgets aren't cages, they're guardrails. Your anterior cingulate cortex, the brain's error monitor, calms when plans exist, even simple ones. When the alarm bell rings, you can tell it, "We budgeted for this. We are spending from a prepared envelope." Set your Stoic budget for tomorrow out loud. Attention at 9 and 2 emotion refill at lunch, walk with music off. Courage at 4:30, ask for Friday clarity. Write it down. Feel the pen's scratch, the texture of paper. That sensory mark is another reward in your choreography. You're training a brain that learns best from sequences it can touch. A lunchtime sidewalk smelled like rain, and exhaust the day Nina tried her 5% bravery. She led a product squad and habitually softened feedback until it evaporated. Her reflex was consensus, her response needed courage. We gave bravery a container, not a cliff jump, just 5% more than comfort. She ran horizon, handle human, found the window's top edge, touched the notebook's binding, and placed the teammate who could take truth in her line of sight. 2-minute tilt, breath long, body angled, bricks arranged. She pulled the document on the shared screen and highlighted the drift. Then the clean ask, "I'm seeing a slide away from the agreed user story. It breaks 2 constraints. I want the best ship, not speed. Can we cut scope B now and aim for 1 testable win by Friday noon? 5% braver, not 50. The room tensed, then steadied. Nina's brain got a clean hit of dopamine from aligned action, not from the applause of avoiding friction. That feeling, not the compliment later, is what her nervous system learned to chase. Smell the room if you can. Even the faint scent of dust or coffee ghosts counts. Press your thumb into the opposite palm and notice the dull ache that says you're here. The next framework is the reset triangle. When you're deep in a spiral, you pick any 2 sides and the third follows. The sides are move, breathe, and name. Move means you shift your body's geometry, stand, walk to a window, or change the angle of your stance by 30 degrees. Breathe is your 4-4-6 or a 4-7-8 if you need more settling. Name is a 2-word weather report, hot and sharp, tight and tired. Any 2 unlock the third because physiology, breath, and language are braided. The reset triangle gives you choice even when the room feels welded shut. In a beige conference room that hummed like an old refrigerator, Raffi once felt his edges dissolving under the weight of a senior exec's critique. His reflex was to nod and disappear. He remembered the triangle. He stood to draw a simple diagram on the whiteboard, move. He lengthened his exhale while the marker squeaked, breathe. He named, quietly enough for only himself to hear, unsteady and small, name. The third side clicked into place. He asked, would you highlight the one metric that would change your mind if we moved it by Friday? The criticism narrowed into something actionable. Raffi didn't conquer his fear. He changed the geometry of the moment so his brain could act. You will anchor these tools with a daily ritual called the 2 doors. At lunch and before you sleep, you ask 2 questions that point your dopamine and your identity the right way. Door 1, what did I choose instead of my reflex today? Door 2, where will I choose tomorrow? Answer in 1 sentence each, then feel your feet. The brain encodes identity through repetition and through stories told in your own voice. The 2 doors align both. You are not tricking yourself. You're building a corridor you can walk when alarms blare. Feel the cool of the floor under your soles, the stretch at your Achilles if you press your heels down. Let your shoulders drop. Your mind may whisper, this is too much scaffolding. Remember that pilots use checklists not because they're foolish, but because under stress even experts forget. You are designing checklists for your nervous system. Over time, the scaffolding becomes the architecture. The building stands on its own. There's a domestic scene worth studying. Late evening, dishes drying on a rack, the light over the sink humming. Your partner sighs heavy and says, you care more about work than us. Reflex wants to litigate and score. Choice architecture says, friction flip, no arguing while standing, both of you sit or walk. You offer water at the table, the cold a cue to calm. 2-minute tilt, timer on the counter for 90 seconds of breathing before words. Dopamine choreography, agree that you'll end with one small plan that feels good for both, like a 15-minute device-free check-in tomorrow. Reset triangle if heat rises, move to the couch corner, breathe, name, 5% bravery, say the fear you usually bury. I'm scared that if I slow down, I'll lose momentum and we'll lose safety, and I don't want to lose you. The room will not turn into a movie. It will turn into a conversation that continues instead of a night that hardens into distance. Your body will remember the quiet pride of that pivot, and it will want to do it again. For the workplace, embed choice architecture in a ritual called the clear gate. Before pressing send on any high-stakes message, you pass through 3 gates in 1 minute. Tone clean, aim close, action clear. Tone clean, you run 1446 breath and strike 1 sentence that performs your righteousness. Aim close, you rewrite your subject line so it states the decision at stake, not a feeling. Action clear, you end with 1 ask, time-bound, that a tired person can do. The clear gate becomes a dopamine dispenser. Each pass yields fewer back and forths and more forward. Your brain starts to love the gate because it associates it with relief. Time for a micro practice that stitches all of this into muscle memory. It's called the Tile 5. Pick any task and break it into 5 tiles you can do even when you're foggy. Before you begin, whisper your values in order, then touch the first tile with your fingers. Literally tap the desk where the tile would be. Work 1 tile, long exhale, tiny reward, a sip of water, a stretch, a breath of outdoor air. Repeat. Tile 5 shrinks overwhelm into movements your basal ganglia can groove. When a spike hits mid-task, 2-minute tilt becomes a 6th invisible tile that steadies your hands. A story from a loud airport gate, rolling suitcases clicking like metronomes. Priya's flight was delayed again. Her reflex was to stew and fire off a thread to the airline's social team. She caught herself and built a microarchitecture on the spot. Friction flip. She put the phone in airplane mode for 10 minutes. 2-minute tilt. She breathed, angled her body toward a window, and moved bricks by placing her book visibly in her bag pocket. Dopamine choreography. She promised herself a small reward, 5 pages and then a coffee. Reset triangle when a loud announcement spiked her chest, stood, breathed, named hot and helpless. 5 pages later, she felt better than the complaint would have made her feel. When she finally texted her contact, it was a clean ask. Could you confirm gate by 4:10 and note if crew is on site? I'm coordinating a pickup. The answer came in 2 minutes. Relief, not righteousness, coated her nervous system. That's a habit loop worth repeating. Now wire your training to your identity with a cue called the keeper's question. Before hard moments, you ask, what kind of keeper do I want to be for the next 60 seconds? Notice it is, what outcome do I want? Outcomes matter, but behavior under heat shapes who you are. You might answer, patient keeper, or clear keeper, or brave keeper. Your RAS tilts to find behaviors that match the word. Your motor cortex selects micro-actions that embody it. Longer exhale, one real question, a clean ask. Dopamine follows congruence. You didn't fake it, you acted into it. Check your breath again. Hear the faint hiss at the back of your throat on the exhale. Feel the softness at the base of your skull if you allow your head to sit like a bowl on a stem. You are installing rails that your future self will thank you for when adrenaline makes stairs feel like cliffs. Friction flip, dopamine choreography, 2-minute tilt, stoic budget, reset triangle, clear gate, tile 5, the keeper's question. None of these replace your humanity. They honor it by giving it a place to stand when winds rise. Before bed tonight, run a tiny scene. Dim light, quiet room. Stand barefoot on the floor and feel the cool. Whisper your 2 doors. Today I chose a pause instead of a lecture. Tomorrow I'll choose one real question before I defend. Then set one friction flip for morning, phone in another room, gym shoes by the door, a note by your mug that says switch first. Place a reward in reach, a tea bag ready, a chair near the window for 10 sunlit breaths. You're not bribing yourself. You're telling your nervous system, it feels good to be who we want to be. When you wake, your reflex might run ahead. That's fine. Reflex is ancient. You do not hate it, you thank it for trying to keep you alive, and then you give it a better map. Touch, breath, name, aim, horizon, handle, human, northing, window, ladder, tilt, triangle, gate. If you forget, the keeper's question fits between your ribs like a key. Ask it softly. Let it turn. Feel the lock click. The door opens a little wider each time. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper who designs rooms where the best in you is easier to reach than the old alarm. And on a Tuesday, in a kitchen, at a desk, in an airport, that design is the difference between a day you apologize for and a day you're quietly proud of. The pride matters. It trains the loop. It makes you want this path again tomorrow. You've designed rooms and routes. Now it's time to change the voice that greets you at the door. Under pressure, your inner critic grabs the microphone and claims it's saving you. It predicts humiliation, guards against rejection, and tries to whip you into safety by throwing sharp words. The Stoic Switch won't stick if that voice keeps yanking wires. Today you'll run a conversion, not a coup. You won't silence the critic. You'll hire it into a better job. Call this the critic to coach switch. The move has 4 beats that you'll learn to run in under a minute. Catch the barb, code its tone, convert the sentence, commit to the smallest wise action. Catch means you notice the exact words, not the vague shame fog. Code means you label the tone, harsh, urgent, scared, so you know what system is firing. Convert means you rewrite the sentence to be caring, concrete, and controllable. Commit means you anchor it to a behavior you can do in the next 5 minutes. Your brain learns from repetition. We'll make this loop your new default. Feel your tongue resting heavy in your mouth. Let your jaw soften by a few millimeters. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6 until your ribs loosen. Catch the last barb you tossed at yourself today. Maybe it sounded like you blew it again. Code the tone, harsh with a buzz of panic. Convert, I'm disappointed because this matters. What's the one fix I can make in the next 5 minutes? Commit, open the file, change the line, write the clean ask. You did not become soft, you became specific. Your anterior cingulate cortex, the brain's error monitor, calms when a plan appears. Blood returns to your prefrontal cortex. The voice that once stabbed now points. A story from a glass-walled auditorium smelling faintly of warm cables. Dev had 5 minutes to pitch a new feature to a panel of partners. 2 minutes in, a slide froze. He felt heat surge behind his ears, the old flood of, "You're the amateur in a room of adults." His reflex was speed, speak faster, gloss over, pretend it wasn't happening. He remembered horizon, handle, human, and let his eyes touch the frame edge of the screen. His fingers found the knurled bezel of the clicker. He picked the one friendly face near the back, 4x4, then the critic to coach switch. Catch, you're a joke. Code, harsh plus scared. Convert, you care and you're in a hiccup. Show them how you think. Commit, naming the problem, suggesting options. He said, looks like the deck froze at the demo. I can walk you through the 3 steps, live or pivot to the summary, which serves you best. Someone near the center nodded and said, live it. Dev ran the feature in the admin view, slower, clearer, better. The room lined in. He did not conquer his critic. He gave it a clipboard. Notice the temperature at your wrists. Is the air cooler than your forearms? Place your palm against your sternum and let the pressure land. The critic's job is predictive policing. It scans for danger with a negativity bias designed to keep ancestors alive on edges of cliffs. That bias overfires in rooms with fluorescent lights and calendars. You can't delete it, you can root it. When you code the tone, harsh, urgent, scared, you name the nervous system channel it's writing. Harsh is usually shame. Urgent is anxiety dressed as a manager. Scared is fear asking for a hand. Conversion only works when you honor the data beneath the drama. The data says, this matters, I need a handle. You provide one. There's a companion method to make words themselves less dangerous. Call it the language gradient. Absolutes trigger threat, gradients invite choice. Always becomes often, never becomes rarely, must becomes would help. I am a failure becomes I feel failed in this hour. The limbic system hears absolutes and slams the alarm. It hears gradients and quiets enough to think. Your microdrill is 5-word rewrites. Take any absolute sentence your mind offers and rewrite it in 5 words or fewer with 1 gradient and 1 action. I always choke on stage becomes often tense. Breathe first sentence. The sentence fits in your lungs. Your behavior can follow it. Try it now. Bring up a sticky self-judgment and squeeze it into 5 words with a gradient and an action. Never disciplined, plan tiny block. Always late, leave 5 early. Terrible leader, ask 2 questions. Whisper it once on a long exhale. Taste how it changes the chemistry of your next minute. This isn't linguistic sugar, it's talk. You are moving the lever from the weak end to the strong one. In a kitchen with morning light and the smell of toast, Leela scrolled through a message thread from her sister. A misread line, a defensive reply, an old family bruise pressed. Her critic arrived fast. You always escalate, you're the problem. She felt her chest tighten, the old heat that made her speak just to find relief. She ran the language gradient, often hot, 90-second pause. She set her phone face down on the table and ran the 95 flow, raw for 90, then recognize anger with shame, regulate, 2 long exhales, reframe. It's a pattern and a choice, recommit, send 1 question. The critic unclenched. Her thumbs typed, "What landed off for you in my last note?" The thread softened. Years of loop didn't vanish, but today's scuffle did not become a scar. Listen for the farthest sound, an engine turning over, a door closing, the whisper of air through a vent. That distance is proof you're bigger than the thought shouting in your face. Smell the room, coffee ghost, paper, detergent. Touch the edge of your sleeve and feel the stitch. These details turn down the limbic siren so the words you choose can matter. You are not brainwashing yourself, you are restoring access. To train the conversion when you're alone, use the coach chair. It's a literal chair you designate as your internal coach's seat. When the critic rants, you shift your body to the chair, even a quarter turn, and speak from the coach's mouth for 30 seconds. The coach uses present, kind, actionable language. Here, what we'll do in the next hour. The shift in posture recruits different networks. Moving your hips changes your breath, which alters interoceptive mapping and frees up language that isn't trapped in defense. If you can't move chairs, angle your body 12 degrees, small geometry, big permission. At a co-working space that smelled like marker ink and citrus cleaner, Jonas stared at a draft with too many notes from his editor. His critic poured gasoline. If you were good, it wouldn't need this many cuts. He angled his body toward an empty chair, dropped his shoulders, and let the coach speak. Cuts means someone is helping you sharpen. We'll take 10 minutes to triage the high-impact edits, then we'll run a tile 5. He did. 10 minutes later, he'd made 3 surgical changes and felt his breath deepen. Dopamine from progress replaced cortisol from critique. The chair wasn't magic. The body shift was a key. Scan your mouth for tension, soften your tongue, notice the weight of your legs. If you have a small object within reach, a coin, the pocket stone, press it into your palm. The critic softens when your body communicates, "I am not in danger." That's the vagus nerve doing its ancient work. From there, language can do the elegant work. Let's wire the critic to coach switch to a quick log so your brain collects evidence it can trust. It's the after-action whisper. After any hot moment, whisper 3 lines to your notes app or a scrap of paper. 1. The barb you caught, 5 words or fewer. 2. The conversion you made, also 5 or fewer. 3. The smallest action you took. Barb, botched it again. Convert, botched moment, not me. Action, sent clear ask. Your hippocampus encodes specifics, vagueness slides off. Over a week, the whisper becomes a trail. Your nervous system can follow back to itself. There's another drill that upgrades self-talk mid-sprint. Call it the 10-second ombudsman. When your mind starts a prosecution, you give equal time to the defense and to the practical next step. 10 seconds only. Prosecution, you missed the cue. Defense, you recovered and clarified. Practical, send the follow-up summary now. This isn't about fairy tales. It's about cognitive balance sufficient to act wisely. Balanced minds build better hours. At a high school gym with varnished floors and echoes, Mara's son missed the shot that could have tied the game. Her critic turned outward, "He always chokes." Then it turned inward, "You're the parent who overcoaches." She felt the sting, the impulse to lecture. 10-second ombudsman. Prosecution, you push him. Defense, you've been gentler all month. Practical, water, 1 question on the ride. What did you learn about that moment? Then silence. In the car, she kept it to the question. He thought, then shrugged, then said, I looked at the scoreboard, not the rim. They smiled the smallest smile. Later at home, she logged the after-action whisper and slept without the movie loop. Tiny justice mattered more than the myth of perfection. Feel the air on the back of your hands. If you look at the light in your room, name its temperature, cold white, warm yellow. We name because the language network sits near the systems that organize behavior. You are not decorating your experience, you are installing handles. Sometimes the critic borrows your values to hurt you. If you were courageous, you wouldn't be nervous, and your body believes the trick. Here you use the value umbrella. You take the very value it's weaponizing and hold it over yourself. Courage includes nervous. Kindness includes a boundary. Clarity includes pausing. Say the sentence and notice the breath that follows. Umbrellas are not armor. They are shelters you can carry into the storm. A workshop room, paper smell, a finicky projector. An attendee named Bashir raised his hand and said too sharply, Isn't all this just coddling? My critic perked up. You're soft, defend yourself. Umbrella. Clarity includes kindness. I nodded, kept my breath long and said, I care about results. These drills work because they're efficient under pressure. Want to test one in 90 seconds? He hesitated, then agreed. We ran northing while the projector decided to cooperate. After he said, quieter, I didn't know I could make my shoulders drop on command. He didn't become a convert to every line, but the room got honest. The critic inside me had wanted to duel. The coach wanted to serve. The coach won because I gave it architecture. Check your breathing, 4 in, 4 hold, 6 out. Notice how your collarbone rises less when the exhale lengthens. Feel the chair under you, find one seam with your fingertip. The identity turn is close. The critic wants to collapse you into the weather of the moment. The coach keeps pointing you to the sky that holds it. You are the awareness, not the emotion, not the sentence, not the stumble. You are the keeper who chooses what the next 60 seconds will build. To make that identity sticky, you'll run the coach cadence each morning for 1 week. Out loud if you can. 1 sentence-only promise to yourself in coach voice, 1 5-word rewrite of an anticipated barb, 1 smallest wise action. Promise, I will lead with questions. Rewrite, often rushed, breathe first. Action, open the doc for 5 minutes. Speak it with your exhale extended. Your ears need to hear your voice being on your side before other voices arrive. There's a final story from a midwinter office with battery-sent air and the faint whir of a heater. Arjun managed customer escalations. He carried a script in his bones. You're always late, always behind, always cleaning messes. By lunchtime, his shoulders were at his ears. By 3, his jaw throbbed. He started running a quiet ritual every time an escalation hit. Critic to coach, catch, here comes the mess. Code urgent. Convert, triage first question. Commit call in 2 minutes. Ask 1 clarifying metric. Language gradient, often messy, map first. Coach chair, he angled his body toward the window before dialing. After action whisper, barb behind again. Convert, re-enter on purpose. Action sent summary. Weeks later, his numbers weren't just better. His voice was lower, his team calmer, his evenings less haunted. He hadn't become someone else. He had started speaking to himself like the person he was trying to become, and then acting like it was already partly true. Neuroplasticity did what it does. It thickened the path that got walked. Let your eyes rest on a horizontal line. Touch the nearest edge. Breathe the longer exhale. Whisper 1 5-word rewrite that you can carry into your next room. Often tense, hands open first. Rarely late, shoes by door. Sometimes stuck, 1 tile now. Feel how small can be sacred when it's precise. The switch you built at the beginning, touch, breath, name, aim, now has a voice that helps, not heckles. The compass you spin, the window you widen, the ladder you climb, they all move easier when the inner coach is lacing your boots instead of tying them together. You will forget and the critic will flare. Good, that's another rep. Catch the barb, code the tone, convert with care and concreteness. Commit to one tiny act, then breathe. Then smile at the part of you that is still convinced punishment creates excellence. Excellence grows in clarity and care, watered by small actions repeated until they feel like home. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper whose voice teaches your nervous system where to stand when the room tilts. When you speak to yourself with precision and kindness, you don't shrink, you sharpen. And the people around you feel it as a quiet reliability they can lean on when their own critics are loud. That's leadership at human scale. That's the Stoic Switch becoming a language you live inside. You've tuned the voice and the room, now you'll build the muscle that carries you through impact. Stoics practiced on purpose, cold mornings, scarce meals, voluntary discomfort, not to perform toughness but to inoculate their nervous systems against surprise. Modern psychology calls this stress inoculation. We'll make it humane and repeatable. Call this chapter the resilience ratchet. A ratchet moves one click at a time and doesn't slip backward. Your ratchet has 3 moves: dose, digest, and design. Dose means you choose small, safe exposures to the kinds of friction that usually hijack you. Digest means you metabolize the stress with breath, language, and a micro-morning so the body doesn't carry a backlog. Design means you adjust one variable in your environment or method so the next round is a touch easier. You are not throwing yourself into the fire, you're stepping closer to warmth until your face stops flinching. Feel the fabric on your forearms and the exact weight of your body on the seat. Let your exhale stretch to 6, a velvet ribbon. Pick a gentle edge right now, an email you've been avoiding, a conversation you've delayed, a task with fog around it. Dose it for 5 minutes. Set a timer. Before you begin, run a single 4-4-6 breath and whisper the value order for this micro scene. Then start, knowing the timer is your lifeguard. When it dings, you digest. Breathe twice, write 1 sentence naming what was hard and 1 sentence naming what worked. Micro-mourn what didn't happen in those 5 minutes, a fantasy of perfection, a wish to be already done. Then you design, changing 1 tile, move the dock to your desktop, draft the opening line as a prompt, or ask 1 person for the missing metric. 5 minutes is not childish, it's a ratchet tooth. A story from a bright lab with the smell of alcohol wipes and warm plastic. Hayes was a med student who froze during his first unsupervised suture. His reflex was to avoid the procedure room, study more, volunteer for paperwork, hide in helpfulness. We ran the resilience ratchet. Dose. He entered the room once a day for 5 minutes to touch instruments, tie knots on a rubber pad, and name the feeling, shaky, proud. Digest 2 breaths, 1 line in a pocket card that lived in his scrub chest pocket, 1 tiny grief for the past self that thought mastery would be immediate. Design. He moved the suture kit to the top drawer so his hand met it first, and he taped a 5-word rewrite on the lid, often shaky, hands slow first. On day 8 he placed 3 stitches with a senior watching. On day 12 he did it alone, voice lower, hands steadier. The ratchet clicked. No hero speech, just clicks. Listen for the farthest sound you can hear. Maybe a truck groan, maybe a vent hush. That distance is proof your awareness is wider than this minute's pressure. Smell the room, paper, dust, a ghost of citrus. Touch the ridge where your thumb meets your palm. These cues ground the dose so your body learns safety inside challenge. Your amygdala is a historian. Give it new entries. We did 5 minutes. We breathed, nothing exploded, we adjusted, we returned. To support the ratchet, you'll install the edge anchor drill. The edge is the smallest boundary of discomfort where growth lives and panic doesn't. The anchor is the sensation you choose to tether yourself to while you work there. You find the edge by asking on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is I'm flooded. What is a 3 or 4 right now? That's your dose. You pick an anchor, a cool mug, your heel pressed to the chair base, the hum of a light, and you return to it every 30 seconds like a lighthouse wick. Stay for the dose, then exit with dignity. Over time, your edge moves outward like a shoreline after tide. Your nervous system trusts you because you didn't throw it into a riptide to prove a point. At your desk, try it. Choose a 3 out of 10 task. Press your left heel to the chair base until you feel bone. That's your anchor. Work for 3 minutes. Every time the mind shouts, you brush it like a wave and return to the heel. Exhale longer. When time's up, stand, shake your hands as if flinging water, and smile with the corners of your mouth, even if you don't feel like it. That smile is a signal to your vagus nerve that the hunt is over. Edge expanded, anchor honored. There's a second framework for days that break you open. Call it the clean fall protocol. You will fall, miss a deadline, say the cutting thing, forget the thing you promised. A clean fall has 4 beats: spot, soften, study, step. Spot means you notice the moment the slip happens, not the hour after. Soften means you release the second arrow, shame that makes you thrash. Study means you run a curious autopsy with one question: where did the first body cue appear? Step means you take the smallest repair that fits in a sentence before the hour ends. Clean falls accumulate into agility. Messy falls accumulate into avoidance. Feel the temperature at your ankles. If you can, let your jaw loosen, tongue resting low. Bring your gaze to a horizontal line, a shelf, a frame so your field widens. The clean fall protocol isn't an excuse, it's a net that keeps you climbing. Your brain needs proof that mistakes don't equal exile or identity. Each clean fall is evidence. A construction site office trailer warmed by a space heater. Tori, a project manager, missed a permit window and cost the team a day. She felt the reflex, the self-flaying monologue, the urge to hide behind schedules. She ran clean fall. Spot, the moment she saw the email with the red stamp. Soften, one hand on sternum, jaw loose. Study, where did the first body cue appear? Yesterday at 4:10, eyes burning, a thought, I'll send it after I eat. Step, calling inspector now and sending a one-line accountability note to the team with a revised timeline and 2 prevention steps. She wrote, I missed the submittal by a day, that's on me. New inspection set for 10 a.m. Friday. I've added a 3 p.m. daily permit sweep and a second watcher. The team grumbled, then returned to work. That night, Tori wrote a single sentence in her ledger. I fell, cleaned it, shoulders down by dinner. She slept. Scan your body for the place that feels warmest. Place 2 fingers on your pulse and count 3 beats. The beat exists whether you're winning or wobbling. That's the point. You root your identity in the awareness that holds both, not in the scoreboard. You are the sky, not the weather. When you forget, you come back to pulse and floor and breath and the next wise verb. Now we'll train your system to flirt with chaos without marrying it. The framework is play the edge. Seriousness spikes cortisol. Play lowers it without lowering standards. You will do deliberate, gentle experiments that make your reflex laugh while you practice response. For 1 week, you pick a daily micro-challenge and wrap it in play. Speak in 3 sentences max in the next meeting. Wear the slightly bolder color. Walk backward for 3 steps when rumination grips. Use your non-dominant hand for the first bite to slow your nervous system. After each, you run digest, 1 breath, 1 line of what got easier, 1 tiny grief for what you wanted that didn't happen. Play disarms the critic and teaches your body that growth can taste like curiosity, not only like grit. Here's what this looks like in a relationship. A Tuesday night, stovetop ticking as it cools, the smell of garlic in the drapes. Your partner lands a familiar complaint. Your reflex reaches for a thesis statement. Play the edge. You limit yourself to a one-breath response, no more than 15 words, and a question that begins with what or how. You set a timer for 90 seconds and make the question truly open. The body softens because a game is running. The mind opens because the game is honest. After digest, breathe, write the single moment you felt proud and what you wish had gone differently. Then design, move the next conversation to the couch corner tomorrow with tea already steeped. You aren't trivializing the stakes, you're lowering the threat so truth can surface. Notice the way your clothes touch your shoulders. Hear the small hiss of your exhale. Smell anything faint, dust, soap, paper. The sensory weave is not garnish, it's scaffolding. Every time you return to it, you are thickening a path. Feel, breathe, choose. That is the Stoic path in a nervous system's language. You might be carrying an old backlog of undigested struggle, projects that died, relationships that ended, versions of you that didn't get to be. That backlog turns minor bumps into sirens. You'll clear it slowly with a practice called micro-mourning. For 60 seconds a day, you grieve one small thing cleanly. You name it precisely. The year I thought I'd publish. The summer I was unkind. The job that taught me and took from me. You breathe once and imagine placing it on a shelf with a label, not a shrine with candles. Mourning frees energy that being strong has been using to hold a door shut. When energy frees, choice returns. You are not wallowing. You are honoring a debt so it stops charging interest. A quiet Sunday, a window with condensation you can trace. You whisper, I mourn the version of me that wanted to be unflappable at 25. Breath in, breath out. You feel the ache like a pebble in your throat, then it melts into your chest and becomes warmth. The next day, when a colleague rolls their eyes, the hook catches but doesn't tear because the backlog is a gram lighter. Micro-mourning isn't dramatic, it's housekeeping. Pair the ratchet with a 10-second reset called shake and see. Stand, shake your hands like you're flinging water, roll your shoulders, then look for 3 neutral facts in the room: the time on the clock, the number of pens on the desk, the color of the floor. Your vestibular system, proprioception, and visual cortex are anchors. Shaking discharges, seeing stabilizes, then you act. Under pressure, the brain loves melodrama. Shake and see reintroduces physics. In a steel elevator with a floral cleaner smell, Cadden rode to a negotiation that mattered. His reflex was to rehearse arguments until his breath caught. He ran shake and see, hands flicked twice, shoulders rolled, eyes found the floor pattern and the panels brushed metal. 3 facts, level 7, 2:22 p.m., jacket pocket with pen. He exhaled long, felt his feet, and walked in with a voice that rolled instead of scraped. The meeting didn't make him a legend, it made him precise. He left with an agreement his future self could execute. He logged 1 line, shook, saw, spoke, didn't sprint. Now build stamina with the pace challenge cycle. You alternate between exposure days and recovery days. On exposure days, you dose 2 edges and run the digest design pair. On recovery days, you run sanctuary block, a walk without audio for 12 minutes and 1 micro-mourning. This rhythm mirrors muscle training, stress, repair, adaptation. Your hippocampus loves rhythm. Your immune system does too. You are not lazy on recovery days, you are wise. Stoicism without rest is theater. With rest, it becomes craftsmanship. Touch the table or your thigh and register texture. Feel the cool at the tip of your nose. Whisper your values in order. The identity turn is the pulse beneath all of this. You keep proving to yourself that you are the awareness, not the emotion, not the outcome, not the applause. When the ratchet clicks, when the fall is clean, when morning is small and regular, you stand in a wider sky. The weather still changes, your post doesn't. There's a final drill for this chapter, the Hot Minute Marathon. Once a day, you spend 60 seconds in deliberate heat and 60 seconds in deliberate ease. Heat can be a cold water wrist rinse and one hard conversation sentence. Ease is a sunlit window and a breath where your exhale is twice as long. You say out loud, both belong, I can be with both. You are teaching your nervous system range. Range builds trust. Trust builds leadership, first of yourself, then of rooms. A last story from a warehouse office that smelled like cardboard and coffee oils. May ran fulfillment during a holiday spike. A server hiccuped, orders jammed, phones chirped like crickets. Her reflex was to sprint and snap. She asked her team for a hot minute, 60 seconds of breath, 3 neutral facts on the whiteboard, 1 clean ask to customer support. Then they ran the paced cycle, 90 minutes of focused triage, 10 minutes of walk and water. The backlog shrank. At 8:40 p.m., her shoes felt heavy, her brain a low buzz. She walked outside, looked at a slice of moon that seemed like a thumbnail of light, and let the night air cool the heat off her cheeks. She whispered, both belong. The next morning, nobody was a hero. The work was done. The team respected the way the room felt under pressure. That feeling is culture. It starts in one nervous system and passes to another like fire from wick to wick. Feel your feet again. Spread your toes if you can. Let your gaze soften until you see the edges of the room. Long exhale. The resilience ratchet. Edge anchor, clean fall, micro morning, shake and see, pace challenge, hot minute marathon. Pick one today, dose it small. Digest and design. You are not auditioning for an idea of yourself. You are building a body-level trust that says, when it gets hot, I know what to do. That trust will carry you into bigger rooms without making you brittle. You will bend and return. You will be proud in a quiet way that lasts longer than the cheer after a sprint. And when you forget, the ratchet doesn't reset to 0. It waits for the next click. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper who can choose a safe edge, tethered to an anchor, fall clean, mourn small, and rise. This is not about being unbreakable. It is about being unstealable, by fear, by praise, by the old story that says only pain produces strength. You're proving another story with your breath and your hands. Range produces strength. Kindness makes it durable. You've trained your nervous system to hold steady under heat. Now you'll train your attention to cut through noise like a beam. The Stoics prized clarity not because it looks wise, but because it keeps you from wasting life on misaimed effort. Modern cognition agrees. Attention is your most valuable currency. Today you'll install 2 systems, the signal spine and decision triage, and a pocket drill called single-line focus. Together they turn scattered hours into clean, forward steps without requiring you to become a monk. Your reflex will keep chasing whatever pings. Your response will choose what matters and make it easier to serve it. Feel the weight of your head balanced on the stem of your spine. Let your jaw unclench by 2 millimeters. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. The signal spine is a sentence you write at the start of each meaningful block that answers 3 things in one breath. Why this? Why now? What's the smallest done? Because the team needs a decision. Before noon locks the agenda, draft 3 options. It's not a mission statement. It's a spine the rest of your attention can hang on. The brain's reticular activating system craves instruction. If you don't set it, inboxes and timelines will. You repeat the sentence out loud, then place your body like a tripod, Feet planted, hips square, shoulders heavy, and begin. If distraction knocks, you whisper the spine again and return your eyes to a single point on the page or screen. Muscles follow sentences. Sentences tame minutes. A story in a room that smelled faintly of dry erase and coffee oils. Kaya was prepping a board update, 6 charts and 1 knotty narrative. Her reflex was to tab hop, soothing anxiety with motion. She gave herself a spine, because clarity beats quantity. Before 10:30 the story must show cause, effect, choice. She set a timer for 25 minutes, touched the textured cover of her notebook, and ran single-line focus. Eyes track one line at a time, finger under the line like a reader in grade school, 446 every fourth line. When a Slack ping fired, she didn't hate herself for wanting to check. She ran the spine out loud and returned her eyes to the sentence. At 10:28, she had a tighter story than she'd produced in weeks of sprints. The feeling wasn't victory, it was relief that registered deep in her ribs. Her body learned what clean attention feels like. Attention is not a personality trait, it's a physical posture plus a sentence. Your prefrontal cortex burns fuel on switching. The signal spine reduces switching by making the next action obvious. Single-line focus engages your oculomotor system, eyes and finger as rails, so the rest of your brain can ride. The longer exhale nudges your chemistry towards steadiness, so complexity doesn't register as threat. This is not about heroism, it's about physics. Decision triage handles what attention alone can't. The pile of choices that makes your chest feel like a drawer jammed off its rails. You'll use a simple grid with 3 lanes, now, next, never. Now means a decision that unlocks other work with less than 2 paragraphs of thought. Next means a decision that deserves a tiny sandbox, 1 experiment, 1 short consult, 1 draft. Never, for today, means everything that looks urgent but doesn't move the spine. You run triage in 3 minutes, write the list, sort into the lanes with a pen, then take the top now and do it standing if you can. Standing decisions happen faster and with fewer spirals. You do one next by scheduling a sandbox on your calendar. You consciously let the never pile float by like leaves in a current. Your brain will complain. You will nod and point at the spine. Close your eyes and listen for the farthest sound, the soft thud of a neighbor's door, a car exhaling down the street, a fan's breath. Feel the cool in your nostrils on the inhale and the slightly warmer air on the exhale. Place your thumb on the edge of your desk and notice its exact texture, the ridge or polish. These micro-anchors are part of attention hygiene. They quiet the limbic chatter so your oculomotor rails can guide your mind without getting hijacked by phantom alarms. A newsroom floor on a Wednesday thrummed with screens. Jonah kept 5 tabs of maybes open and a 6th for the actual piece due at 4 p.m. He felt his pulse in his throat and the itch to copy-paste and call it synthesis. Decision triage on a sticky note. Now angle line, next confirm stat, never layout tweaks. Standing, he wrote 4 words that set the piece. Cost rises, hope shrinks. He texted the fact-checker 1 line. Can you confirm Q3 refund rate delta? And ignored the font debate thread. He ran single-line focus with his finger slipping under lines as if leading a choir. At 3:48 he had a piece with a spine tough enough to carry the weight. The dopamine didn't come from applause, it came from alignment between sentence, body, and hour. Your environment can either multiply or murder attention. Install the 2-door room. Door 1 is the entry ritual. You whisper the spine, place the phone outside reach, and run 446 twice. Door 2 is the exit ritual. You summarize in 1 sentence what was decided or created, and write the smallest next step as a calendar tile. The brain loves endings. Give it one on purpose, and it won't try to reopen the loop at 2 a.m. if you work in a shared space. Draw door 1 and 2 on a small card and tuck it under your keyboard. Cards are rituals that don't require willpower. You just touch and read. Check the temperature on the skin just below your eyes. Feel the microcool where air meets face. Let your shoulders fall a notch. Attention thrives in parasympathetic tone. No calm, no clarity. The tools you've been practicing, switch, compass, window, ladder, are not separate from focus. They are the preconditions of it. You stabilize the animal, then deploy the mind. There's a field tool you can run when interruptions are part of your job. Call it the interruption tuck. When someone or something cuts into your block, you tuck your work like a bookmark in 3 moves that take 10 seconds. You write the spine in the margin, you underline the last line you touched, you list the very next verb you'll do when you return, merge, ask, cut. Then you give your full presence to the interruption. When you come back, you aren't adrift in a fog. Your spine, line, and verb return you to the beam in under a minute. Context is expensive. Tucks are cheap. An open-plan office smelled of carpet and stale sugar. Quinn was the de facto fix-it person, pinned by quick questions. Without tucks, she bled attention on re-entry. She started writing the spine, underlining the last line, and scripting a next verb before she answered a ping. The difference was night and day. Instead of rereading the same paragraph 5 times and hating herself, she resumed with the confidence of a reader returning to a story she loved. Her team felt the change. Her answers were warmer because she trusted her work would still be there when she returned. The cost of context drops, compassion rises. Focus without meaning feels like a treadmill. You'll marry attention to values with a practice called aim with affection. Before you start, you whisper your value order for the block: clarity, then kindness, then courage, and ask one soft question: how can this block be kind to future me? You express kindness physically: a glass of water within reach, a chair angle that spares your back, a timer that protects your eyes from burn. When the block ends, you write one sentence to future you: here, where I left the thread. Your hippocampus loves breadcrumbs, give it some. Notice the fabric at your collarbone. Is it rough, smooth, cool? Notice the angle of light in the room. Name it warm or cool. These simple names keep your language network awake and sympathetic. When words are present, drama shrinks. The animal stops standing on chairs screaming at mice. Sometimes focus fails because the task is actually several tasks in a trench coat. You'll use unbraid to separate strands. Speak the task out loud once, then write 3 versions that are each smaller and more precise. Write strategy doc becomes list constraints, draft 3 bets, pick 2 guardrails. You work one strand to a visible edge, then stop and respine. The brain handles granular motion better than abstract burden. Unbraid turns overwhelm into tiles you can touch. In a glass conference room that hummed with air vents, Nessa stared at fix onboarding. A month had elasticized into later. She unbraided aloud into list current friction points, choose one metric to move, draft first day script. Single line focus carried her eyes through a messy survey. Decision triage put script first in now. She wrote the signal spine for a 50-minute block and produced a page that made day 1 kinder and clearer. The rest followed because it had somewhere to stand. Relief, then pride, then the quiet dopamine that comes from reality changing under your hands. Your devices can be tuned to serve your beam. Create a RAS playlist, 3 lock screen instructions that prime your attention when you wake or pick up a phone. 1 breath. What spine? Smallest done. If you can change your home screen to a single row, make the top left a notes or journal app. Place reactive apps on the second screen. You are training a bouncer. Give it a list at the door. Feel your feet again. Press the balls of your feet into the floor and feel the calves engage. A small physical effort wakes attention. Let your exhale lengthen. You're going to run a 2-minute attention warm-up before the next hard block. It goes 4-4-6 twice. Whisper your spine. Trace a rectangle with your eyes, left to right, top to bottom twice. Touch an edge. Begin. This routine is not childish. It is elegant. Pilots do checklists because under pressure even experts forget. When decisions stack deeper than triage can handle, you'll deploy a method called the 3 questions, stolen from Stoic simplicity and tuned for modern complexity. 1. What's mine? 2. What's the cost of waiting? 3. What's the smallest reversible step? If it's yours and waiting costs momentum, take the reversible step within the hour. If it's not yours, write the clean ask to the right person. If waiting lowers risk without bleeding urgency, calendar the reassessment. You don't need to see the entire map. You need to move the next tile and preserve options. Reversibility is a kindness you can give your nervous system. At a startup kitchen with a coffee machine that sighed like an old dog, Danny faced a pricing change that could anger loyal users or doom a runway. Her reflex was binary, jump or freeze. The 3 questions ran quietly. What's mine? Framing options and modeling impact. Cost of waiting. 1 week meant a smaller window before the quarter close. Smallest reversible step. A limited cohort test with a message that honored loyalty. The spine for the next 90 minutes. Because the team needs clarity, before 11:30 model cohort A and write loyalty script. She outlived the surge and made a decision that the team could live with. Not tidy, but real. Check your breathing. Taste the faint dryness in your mouth. Swallow once. Consider your attention like a lens that you can widen or zoom. Zoom is single-line focus. Wide is a scan for 3 neutral facts to quiet the limbic alarm. You choose the lens, the scene stops choosing you. When the day is shot and your mind hums like an overworked transformer, you'll use close your breath and 1 stone. Close your breath is 3 rounds of 4-7-8 or your longest comfortable exhale, eyes on a fixed point. 1 stone is a single sentence you put on tomorrow's path that makes re-entry easy, an open file with a sticky note, a question drafted, a chart titled. You are not abandoning work. You are tucking it into bed so it doesn't climb onto yours at night. You'll also build a tiny ritual called the first true minute. When you sit down in the morning, the first minute decides whether your day will be reaction or intention. For 60 seconds, do nothing but breathe long, whisper your values, and write the signal spine for your first block. No apps, no inbox. When the minute ends, you begin. The day will still throw hooks. You will still be human. But the first true minute gives you a head start that compounds. A final story from a co-working loft smelling of sawdust and espresso. Ira had a pattern of heroic last hours followed by crashes that stained weekends. He started running the first true minute, writing spines small enough to fit within breath. He used decision triage at noon to prevent afternoon drift. He moved his phone to a shelf behind him and made the interruption tuck a reflex. 2 weeks in, the hours felt less like a chase and more like purposeful steps. He didn't become a new person. He started trusting the person he'd been building. The beam got steadier. The rooms got quieter around him, or maybe his nervous system stopped amplifying noise into sirens. Feel your body meeting the chair. Let your shoulders hang. Notice the exact place where your hands feel air moving. Whisper a spine for the next hour of your actual day here now, because matters before I will say it with your breath. Touch the nearest edge, begin when this ends, and carry one line into the room as your identity cue. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper, not the storm. You are the beam choosing the next inch of light, not the moth chasing the lamp. When you forget, return to body and sentence. Feel toes, breathe long, whisper the spine, run the interruption tuck, sort with triage, ask the 3 questions, close with 1 stone. Attention isn't a virtue, it's a practice that makes your life feel like yours again, hour by hour, sentence by sentence, breath by breath. You've learned to focus your beam, now you'll protect it. Clarity means nothing if anyone can reroute your minutes, your money, or your mind with a sigh or a frown. Stoicism wasn't about shrinking from people, it was about walking among them without giving away the keys to your house. Today you'll build boundary intelligence, not walls, but well-lit doors with clear handles. You'll use 2 frameworks, agreement architecture and the boundary beam. Agreement architecture turns vague hopes into clean, testable deals so resentment can't grow in the dark. The boundary beam is a 3-part sentence you can deliver under heat that holds your ground without turning the room into a battlefield. You'll pair these with micro-drills, the 2-syllable no and the red line ritual, so your nervous system can say no with the calm of a lighthouse. Feel the chair hold your weight. Notice the cool at the tip of your nose, the soft warmth on the exhale. Let your jaw loosen. Agreement architecture begins with one assumption. Ambiguity breeds conflict. When you don't state who does what by when and under what conditions you'll redecide, your amygdala does the project management by screaming at random hours. Architecture has 4 beams: clarity, conditions, checkpoint, and consequence. Clarity states the concrete, deliverable, invisible terms. Conditions name the resources and boundaries required. Checkpoint sets when you'll reconvene and what signal triggers a replan. Consequence is agreed in advance, not used as a club later. I'll deliver a draft with 3 options by Thursday 10:00 if I get analytics by Tuesday at 16:00. We'll check Wednesday noon. If metrics slip, we push scope B. If we miss Thursday, we ship a 1-page interim. This isn't cold, it's kind. Everyone breathes because the agreement has edges. In your body now, feel the seam of your sleeve under your fingertips. Breathe 4-4-6 once. Imagine one place where resentment lives. Maybe it's the teammate who just needs a quick look. Maybe it's the relative who borrows time like it's air. Map the 4 beams for that one relationship. Clarity, what do you actually do? Conditions, what do you need? Checkpoint, when do you revisit? Consequence, what happens if either of you misses? Write the sentences as if you will read them aloud. The act of writing is a rehearsal your nervous system will use later when a face and a side try to melt your edges. The boundary beam is what you use when heat is already in the room. It's 3 lines delivered in 1 breath each that you can memorize like a verse. Line 1 names your intent. Line 2 states your boundary as a behavior. Line 3 offers a path that fits your values. I want this to work for both of us. I don't take calls after 6. If it's urgent, text read and I'll respond at 9:00 tomorrow. Or I want to help and I won't decide right now. Send the specifics. I'll answer by noon. Your tone does the heavy lifting. It stays low, even, and kind. The prefrontal cortex of the other person hears intent and structure. Their amygdala hears safety. You are not performing. You are steadying the room enough to protect both of you from your reflexes. A story from a hallway that smelled like copier heat and carpet cleaner. Jules was a mid-level engineer everyone trusted because she said yes. Her calendar looked like a game of Tetris, someone was losing. Friday, 5:42 p.m., her manager hovered with one quick feature tweak. The reflex was a tight smile and a late train. She remembered agreement architecture and the beam. She ran horizon, handle human eyes to the wall seam, fingers to the laptop's cool edge, gaze resting on the mentor photo by her desk, and breathed 446. I want this to work for both of us. I don't work past 6. If it's critical, I can ship a small patch Monday 10:00. If not, we bundle it into Wednesday's sprint. Your call. The manager blinked, eyes flicking to the clock, then said, Monday patch works. On Tuesday, Jules wrote the architecture into the sprint ticket. 2 weeks later, the 5:45 visits stopped. No blow-up. Structure replaced scrambling. Her body registered something new, the sweetness of a boundary held, the absence of the old resentment hum behind her ribs. Check your breathing. Taste the faint dryness in your mouth. Swallow once. The two-syllable no is your pocket drill. It's not rude. It's an exhale wrapped in 2 syllables. No today, no thanks, no later. You follow with one boundary beam line if needed. Practice now softly with your exhale long. Feel how your diaphragm supports your spine when you say no with low tone. You are training your vagus nerve to associate no with safety, not threat. When your animal knows you can survive a boundary, your mind stops negotiating with guilt. You'll pair the beam with the red line ritual so your future self doesn't need to invent courage at the last second. Once a week, you write 3 red lines, behaviors you won't cross and won't accept. You write them in positive form and anchor each to a sensory cue. I end my workday at 6. I turn off my desk lamp and place my laptop in the drawer. I don't gossip. When chatter turns sharp, I place my palm on the table and say, let's keep to what helps. I don't write in anger. If heat rises, I touch the mug, breathe, draft, sleep. Your red lines aren't for other people, they are for you. Your nervous system learns that these lines are predictable, embodied, anchored in motion. Other people will learn too, because consistency speaks louder than speeches. Listen for the farthest sound, a distant engine, a bird that can't be bothered by your drama. Let that distance widen your field. Your brain's reticular activating system will always privilege social threat. The ritual teaches it to privilege agreements and lines. Neuroscience without practice is trivia. With practice, it is a scaffold. There's a deception you have to counter. Some people benefit when you're boundaryless. They may not be villains, they're just served by your overgiving. You'll need a test to detect this without paranoia. Use the handshake test. You name the agreement, then you withdraw a tiny piece of unearned labor. If the handshake tightens, respect grows, you've got an adult on the other end. If it crumples, guilt, sulk, pressure, you have a dynamic that needs reform. The test isn't a trap, it's data. You gather it kindly and adjust your architecture accordingly. In a co-working space with the smell of espresso and sawdust, nor freelanced for a charismatic founder who loved just one more idea at 9 p.m. nor drew a simple agreement card. 2 concepts by Friday 4:00, 1 revision Monday 11:00 if needed. She tested a withdrawal. She didn't answer the 9 p.m. ping. She responded at 9:05 a.m. with calm beam lines. The first week, the founder pouted. Nor kept the structure and kept delivering on time. By the 3rd week, the late-night pings ceased. The handshake tightened. Nor's nervous system stopped bracing at dusk. Feel your forearms against air. Notice the microcool. Rub your thumb along the nail of your index finger and register the ridge. Small cues are how the body believes the mind. Now add a framework for emotionally charged asks. It's called nudge, name, navigate. Nudge is a gentle shift toward clarity. Let's get specific. Name is the boundary stated simply, I don't do rush work without time to test. Navigate is an option that fits both values. 2 paths, smaller scope by Thursday or full scope next Tuesday. You deliver it as if reading weather, steady tone, eyes soft, shoulders low. The room will try to bait you into the old sport of who cares more. Decline the sport. Offer navigation. Consider the relationships that matter most. Boundaries there are not about distance. They are about depth without drowning. Use consent loops. When you enter a hard conversation, ask for consent in small bites. Can we talk about money for 10 minutes? After 10, check consent again. Go longer or pause. Consent keeps both nervous systems in the room. It also protects you from overfunctioning, the reflex to carry both ends of the conversation. When consent is absent, you pause. That pause is a boundary that prevents performative peacekeeping. One evening in a small kitchen that hummed with refrigerator noise, Eli and Rafa tried to discuss a recurring wound, lateness and invisibility. It always spiraled. This time, Eli ran consent loops. 10 minutes on time, then pause. Rafa nodded. Eli delivered the boundary beam. I want us to feel like a team. I won't wait more than 20 minutes without a text. If you're later than that, I'll start without you and reschedule. Rafa felt controlled until Eli named the value. I want connection, and I can't do resentment dinner. Can we try it for 2 weeks and check in? The loop held. 2 weeks later, late happened once, the reschedule happened without sulk, and dinner felt like dinner again. Boundary intelligence made love easier, not stingier. Check your breath again. 4 in, 4 hold, 6 out. Notice the loosening at the base of your skull. Boundaries spark grief because they end a previous version of a relationship where you paid the tax. You'll process that with the micro mourning you learned. 60 seconds naming the small loss. I mourn the identity of the always available friend. I'm choosing the reliable friend who rests. Grief acknowledged becomes space. Without it, you'll yank your line back to avoid the ache. Manipulation thrives when language is slippery. You'll install the clear mirror to keep words from melting. When someone says, everyone's doing it, you mirror specifics. Who exactly? When they say, it won't take long, you mirror time. How many minutes? When they say you're overreacting, you mirror impact. I'm naming a limit. Here is the behavior I won't continue. Mirroring is not sarcasm, it's sobriety. It puts edges around fog. A client named Becca worked with a leader who loved the phrase, be a team player, which meant say yes to my emergencies. She began mirroring, define team player for this ask. The leader said, jumping on fires. Becca replied, I'll help if fires are defined as outages that stop users. Scope creep and late requests aren't fires. She wrote the definition into the team wiki. The first flare-up strung, the second met the wiki, the third evaporated. Her job didn't become easy, it became livable. Her weekends became weekends again. Notice the light in your room, warm, cool, slanting. Spread your toes inside your shoes. Name the scent in the air, if any. Your senses keep you from negotiating with ghosts. From this grounded place, you'll do the hardest boundary move, release or repair. Not every relationship can carry the person you're becoming. Release is ending with respect. Repair is staying with new rules. You decide with 3 questions. Does this person benefit when I'm well boundaried? Do they keep agreements after the handshake test? When I state a line, does the room get safer or smaller? If 2 out of 3 land on no, release may be the kindest path for both. You don't need to announce your philosophy. You reduce contact, increase structure, and let time prove the choice. When you do repair, log it in your boundary ledger so your brain stops telling you nothing changes. 1 line per day you honored a line, and 1 line on the aftermath. Evidence beats anxiety. Over weeks, the ledger reads like a biography of someone who respects themselves. That person is you, proving it in ink. You'll add a pocket ritual called the gate close. At the end of the day, you speak 3 closures aloud with your exhale longer than your inhale. Work gate closed, family gate closed, self gate open. You then do 1 minute of anything that belongs only to you, tea by a window, a single paragraph of a book, a hand on your heart. The ritual teaches your nervous system that ending exists. Without endings, boundaries sag and resentment leaks. There's a story from a glass office with afternoon sun striping the floor. Tomas managed operations. He trained his attention, but his calendar still looked like a landfill. He began moving everything through agreement architecture. He used the boundary beam on quick chats. He practiced the 2-syllable no with his exhale. At first, he felt like a jerk. He mourned that identity and kept going. One afternoon, a VP rolled in with an urgent demand. Tomas ran nudge, name, navigate. Let's get specific. I don't commit without data. 2 paths. I pull a snapshot now with caveats, or we meet at 3:00 with clean numbers and decide. The VP grimaced, then chose 3:00. After the meeting, Tomas walked to a window and felt the cool glass on his palm. He whispered, "We teach people how to treat us by how we treat ourselves." It wasn't a slogan, it was physics. You might fear that boundaries make you lonely. Sometimes they change who calls. But they also make room for the people who can meet you and for your own presence, which you've been abandoning to say yes. Boundaries are not the absence of love. They are the way love doesn't drown. Feel your feet, the reliable floor. Let your shoulders drop a notch. Put one hand on your sternum. Whisper one boundary beam for a real situation in your week. Intent, behavior, path. Say it once with your exhale longer. Then write one agreement architecture sentence for a messy recurring task. Clarity, conditions, checkpoint, consequence. Put both where you'll see them next time heat rises. Identity turn again, because it's the anchor of all of this. You are the awareness, not the emotion, not the plea in someone's eyes, not the story that says your worth is what you give away. You are the keeper of doors and light. You decide when the door is open, when it is ajar, when it is closed with a note that says, "Back at 9." The storm can pound, you don't have to hand it the keys. And when you forget and swing the door wide at midnight, you catch it next time at 10 p.m., then 8 p.m., until your house feels like a house again, warm and lit, with room for you. Before we close, practice the 2-minute boundary lab. For 120 seconds, you rehearse aloud 2 lines you've avoided saying. Say them kindly, embody them with breath and posture. I won't decide now, send details. I don't loan money, I can help you plan. I want to hear you and I won't be shouted at. We'll pause and return. If your throat tightens, let it. That's old learning loosening. After, shake your hands, look for 3 neutral facts in the room, and take one small action that proves the line. Put the laptop in the drawer at 6. Send the architecture note. Move the meeting to a time that respects both brains. The world won't always applaud your lines, but the right people will relax around them, including you. Your days will gain a clean shape. Your nights will return to you. Your work will deepen because it isn't leaking into the cracks of everyone else's emergencies. Your relationships will grow because they're planted in soil that drains, not a swamp of unspoken deals. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper with a beam and a door. Build the agreements. Speak the beam. Practice the no that keeps your yes honest. And let the pride that follows, a quiet, body-level warmth, teach your nervous system what home feels like when you stop giving it away. You've protected your beam with boundaries. Now you'll point it at the life you actually want. Stoicism without direction becomes tidy restraint. With direction, it becomes moving grace. Today, you'll tune action to values so your days stop feeling like impressive detours. Two frameworks do the heavy lifting, the values vector and the truth in 12. Values vector translates abstract words, clarity, kindness, courage, into a heading you can walk in the next 12 minutes. Truth in 12 is a pocket protocol for telling a hard truth without heat in under 12 words. You'll pair them with a drill called scene over story, so your feet move while your mind is still arguing. Feel the back of your tongue soften. Notice the temperature at your wrists. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. The values vector begins with 3 words you chose earlier. You assign each a verb and a witness. Clarity becomes choose, kindness becomes consider, courage becomes ask. The witness is a person or principle you picture while you move, so your brain has a face to serve. Choose for future me, consider the human in front of me, ask the brave question. Then you pick a heading, a single sentence that could fit on a compass bezel. Choose one, consider one, ask one. Finally, you anchor the heading to a scene and a clock. Between 9:10 and 9:22, choose the top metric, consider the team's bandwidth, ask the uncertain stakeholder. Values stop being a poster. They become a vector, direction, speed, and reference. A story from a glass-walled office with the faint smell of warm electronics. Amina led product and had a habit of sanding her edges until decisions appeared by consensus. It kept everyone comfortable and everything slow. A launch loomed, choice felt like cliff. She ran the values vector in her notebook. Clarity, right arrow, choose. Kindness, right arrow, consider. Courage, right arrow, ask. Witness, her future hiring panel, who would judge her by the trade-offs she could articulate. Heading, choose one, consider one, ask one. Scene and clock. From 10:05 to 10:20, choose a single wow moment. Consider QA's bandwidth, ask sales which promise has the most heat. She breathed 446 and said into the room, calm and low, we're cutting feature C and betting on an effortless first 30 seconds. QA, can you cover the smaller surface? Sales, which claim keeps prospects breathing. The room bristled, then oriented. The vector carried them forward because it carried her first. Check your body, feel the seam at your sleeve between cloth and skin. Smell the faint paper dust or soap in your space. The brain needs scenes, not sermons. That's the point of scene over story. When your mind starts narrating a biography, I'm bad at decisions, they hate my boundaries, this will crash. You yank it into a scene you can act inside. A table, 2 people, a clock, a sentence. You state what you will do in the next 12 minutes and then do the smallest piece. The animal calms because scenes are survivable. Your prefrontal cortex engages because specifics invite it. Run scene over story now. Think of a looming thing, your story is loud. Bring it into a room. What's on the table? What time is it? Who is the witness? Whisper one sentence. At 3:40 at my desk, I will write the opening question for the proposal and ask Jay for the missing metric. Touch the desk edge. Breathe long. Begin when this ends. The scene is not more pleasant than the story. It is simply truer and smaller, which makes it doable. Truth in 12 is the companion protocol for moments where honesty wobbles on your tongue. It compresses a hard truth into a compassionate sentence you can say on one slow exhale. Your 12 words carry 3 elements: what you see, how it lands, what you propose. We're drifting from constraints. I feel uneasy. Let's cut B today. I'm hurt by that joke. I want warmth. Can we reset now? I'm at capacity. Quality would drop. Tuesday delivery works. You're not legislating. You're lighting the room with a steady beam. The limbic system hears short and kind. The prefrontal hears structure. Truth that small can pass through heat. A Tuesday hallway smelling like printer toner. Mo's boss slid a quick favor across the verbal table. Old Mo would soften then drown. He named his vector, choose, consider, ask, witness, his daughter waiting for him at 6. He ran truth in 12. I'm at capacity, quality drops, Tuesday by 10 works. The boss blinked, recalibrated, and said, do Tuesday. Mo's diaphragm registered relief like a warm band easing. Satisfaction without spike teaches your brain to seek this path again. Press your heel into the floor until you feel bone, then relax. Listen for the farthest sound, maybe an air vent whisper. That sound proves there's space around this moment. In that space, you'll add a method for staying aligned when the room tries to detour you with praise or panic. It's called the Signal Pledge. Before you enter a meeting, you whisper, I serve signal, not performance. Then you pick one behavior that matches. Ask 2 clarifying questions before you pitch, or summarize the decision before opinions bloom. Your RAS tunes for signal. Your actions signal to the room that this is how we move. Pledges make identity practical. There's a trap on the path to alignment, overcorrection. You discover values, then swing like a pendulum, radical honesty that bulldozes, courage that confuses force with spine. To prevent this, calibrate with the courage curve. Picture a curve with 5 points: avoid, edge, assert, aggress, perform. Edge is where your growth lives, assertive, warm, specific. Aggress is your old heat just wearing new words. Perform is the speech that makes you feel heroic and leaves nothing changed. Before a move, ask, where on the curve am I? If it's aggress or perform, breathe and slide back to edge. One sentence, one ask, one consequence. Your tone drops. Your words densify. The room receives you instead of bracing. In a meeting room with iced air and recycled oxygen smell, Ren almost delivered a monologue about ownership. He felt the performative tug. Courage curve check. He was at perform. He slid to edge. Truth in 12. We lack ownership. I propose owners by noon. Then values vector. Choose owners. Consider bandwidth. Ask for volunteers before assignment. The meeting ended with names on lines, not a speech echoing. His nervous system logged the rightness as quiet heat at the sternum, not fireworks behind the eyes. Taste your own breath. There's a dryness you can notice and accept. Place 2 fingers at your pulse for 3 beats. You're going to anchor alignment with a drill called the honest minute. Once a day, you set a 1-minute timer and answer out loud. What am I pretending not to know? Who am I trying to impress? What would be the smallest honest move? 1 minute. No transcript. Then you act on an atom of the answer. You cut one sentence that flatters and confuses. You tell one person, I don't know. You ask for the one metric. Honesty becomes muscle when it moves small weight daily. There's an identity trap to address. The fear that if you choose values publicly, you can't change later without being called a hypocrite. The antidote is the vow of revision. You say aloud, alone, or to your team, we reserve the right to get wiser. Then you demonstrate it with a revision ritual. When new data arrives, you run 3 questions: what's mine, cost of waiting, smallest reversible step, and you change direction in view of witnesses, naming the why. Revision builds trust faster than stubbornness because it respects reality. Stoicism isn't hard-headedness, it's clear-headedness under weather. A cafe smelled like cinnamon and steam. Lena ran a podcast that prided itself on hot takes. After a messy guest segment, her vector said, choose clarity, consider trust, ask for correction. Vow of revision, we got it partly wrong, here's what we missed, here's how we'll fix it. truth in 12 for the announcement. The audience relaxed into the honesty. Lena felt the odd joy of a spine that can bend and doesn't break. Feel the cool of air along your lower lip as you exhale. Touch the nearest edge. Let texture tell your body we are here. It's time to wire alignment into your calendar with the Lighthouse Hour. Once a week, you book 60 minutes where you don't do work. You aim the beam. You write your top 2 values as verbs, pick 2 scenes where they'll live this week, and prowrite 1 truth in 12 you suspect you'll need. You stage props, a glass by the sink for cool wrist resets, a sticky note by the monitor that reads scene over story, a card in your wallet with your 3 values and the words ask 1. The Lighthouse Hour is not a luxury, it's maintenance. A keeper checks the wick when seas are calm. At home on a Sunday afternoon with a citrus cleaner smell and quiet light, you run your lighthouse. You pick 2 scenes. Tuesday 11:30 vendor call, choose the scope, consider their margin, ask for phased pricing, and Thursday 6:15 dinner, choose presence, consider tiredness, ask for 1 highlight and 1 low from the week. You write 1 truth in 12 you might need. I want warmth. Let's pause the critiques tonight. Your body exhale deepens just planning the sentence. Your week will still contain weather. You'll have a beam to carry through it. Sometimes alignment requires subtracting identities that don't fit. Use the coat rack ritual. Picture a rack at the door of each room you enter. On it hang coats labeled with roles: hero, savior, smartest, peacemaker, rebel, ghost. Before you enter, you touch a coat and say, not today. You choose the coat that matches your vector, keeper, listener, decider, and put it on. Mid-conversation, if you feel the old coat sliding onto your shoulders, you touch your sleeve and whisper, not that coat. Role clarity reduces internal noise. You stop freelancing for jobs no one hired you to do. In a fluorescent-lit retrofitted basement, Tito entered a family discussion where he usually wore peacemaker until he resented everyone. Coat rack. He touched peacemaker in his mind and said, not today. He put on listener and decider. I'll listen for 10 minutes, then choose the travel plan that fits our budget. Truth in 12 landed gently. The room still disagreed, but no one drowned, including Tito. The ritual was invisible to them. His nervous system felt like it had found floor. Feel the seat under you. Spread your toes inside your shoes. Hear the faint hum of a fridge, fan, traffic. You'll bind this chapter with a recovery move because alignment costs energy. It's called gratitude in shadow, not the Instagram kind, the kind that acknowledges cost. At day's end, speak 2 lines. I'm grateful I told that truth, it cost me comfort. I'm grateful I chose no, it cost me approval. When gratitude includes shadow, it feeds dignity instead of denying reality. Your nervous system stops bracing for the price because you name it and count it. A quiet office, blue evening light. Harun pressed send on a message that cut a beloved but drifting initiative. He felt the hollow that follows hard choices. Gratitude in shadow, grateful to protect the runway, it cost me a story I liked. He placed his palm on his chest, felt the beat, and breathed long. The hollow didn't vanish. It turned into space that could hold tomorrow's work. Before we close, run the alignment minute. Whisper your 3 values as verbs. Picture your witness. Name your heading in 7 words or fewer. Write 1 truth in 12 for a real scene this week. Touch an edge. Breathe the long exhale. Let your jaw soften. Then say the identity line that steadies everything. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper of this beam, not the moth. You walk in the direction you choose, quietly, repeatedly, with a body that knows the feel of yes. Tomorrow, when the world sells you detours wrapped as urgency, you will run scene over story, pick a values vector, and speak 1 truth in 12. You will adjust with the courage curve when heat dresses up as heroics. You will wear the right coat. You will end the day with a gratitude that includes the cost. You will not do it perfectly. You will do it on purpose. And that is how a life changes shape, sentence by sentence, scene by scene, breath by breath. You've aimed your beam, now you'll make it durable. Transformation fails not because people don't feel inspired, but because they don't lay rails long enough for the train to keep running when weather changes. Today you'll install long-run mechanics, ways to keep the Stoic Switch alive for seasons, not just scenes. Think of this as tempering steel: heat, shape, cool, repeat. You'll use two anchor frameworks, the Three Horizons map and the Identity Installation Loop, plus a repair kit for relapses called the Spiral Reset. Along the way, you'll lace in two rituals that make progress visible to your nervous system: the RAS Highlight Reel and the Stress Ledger Closeout. Your aim is simple: build a life that keeps handing you back to yourself. Start with the Three Horizons map. Horizon 1 is this week, practical and near. Horizon 2 is this quarter, where patterns take root. Horizon 3 is a year from now, where identity lives. The map works because your brain parses time differently depending on distance. Near time loves verbs, mid time loves systems, far time loves stories. You sew them together so there's no gap where your reflex can kidnap your attention. For Horizon 1, you choose two specific scenes to run with the tools you already have, one at work, one in your relationships. For Horizon 2, you name the systems you'll keep: sanctuary block, boundary beam, values vector, so the weeks rhyme. For Horizon 3, you write a single sentence in the voice of future, you describing how rooms feel when you walk in. You don't beg the future to arrive, you behave it into being a minute at a time. Feel the skin under your collarbone and let your breath stroke that space from the inside. Cool in, warmer out. Touch the nearest edge and let texture put gravity back in your hands. Imagine this week's two scenes. Maybe it's Tuesday's vendor call, maybe it's Thursday's dinner. Whisper the sentence you'll live, switch first, ask one real question. Now stretch to 3 months. Which two systems will you protect even if the rest wobbles? Say their names in a low voice. Let the words feel heavy enough to anchor you. Then flash to a year. Picture future you standing in a doorway. What sentence do they say about your presence? Perhaps, when I enter, rooms settle one notch and decisions get kinder. Your nervous system hears that as a heading, not a fantasy. You're giving your RAS a star to steer by when clouds smear the sky. The Identity Installation Loop turns that star into circuitry. It has 4 beats that you will repeat until they feel like gate: priming, performance, proof, praise. Priming happens before a scene. You run a micro version of your favorite tools: 4-4-6, horizon, handle, human, and one identity cue like the keeper's question. Performance is the smallest wise action, not a show. The clean ask, the 2-sentence firewall, the truth in 12. Proof is the artifact you log: after action whisper, boundary ledger line, or a single sentence to future, you describing the move you made. Praise is quiet, body level, and immediate: a hand on your sternum with one low breath, a glance at light on the wall, a sip of water in sun. Your dopamine learns to chase alignment, not adrenaline. The loop isn't moral, it's mechanical. If one beat is missing, the habit decays. If all 4 are present, identity accretes like rings in a tree. A fluorescent office that smelled of warm plastic and marker ink. Sandia led a small research team. Her old identity was the fixer. She wanted the steady decider. She ran the loop for a month. Priming, before stand-up she did 4-4-6 twice and whispered, decider warm. Performance, 1 truth in 12 per meeting, no speeches. Proof, after action whisper in her notes, named scope, asked 1. Praise, a palm to her sternum and the slow weight of her shoulders dropping. Week 1 felt forced. like she was wearing a jacket one size too stiff. Week 3 felt natural, her voice sat lower in her chest. Week 4, the team began ending meetings with decisions, not echoes. She hadn't won a battle. She had taught her nervous system a cadence. Check your jaw, let it unhook by a few millimeters. Listen for the farthest sound, maybe a door sighing somewhere else, the thread of a fan. You'll expect relapse because you are human. The spiral reset is your repair kit when the old loop yanks you back. It has 5 quick steps you can run in 2 minutes. Spot the hook, soften the body, strip the story, stitch the move, seal with a signal. Spot the hook is an honest label, contempt, panic, prove it. Soften the body is one long exhale with shoulders dropping and tongue resting low. Strip the story means you name the most dramatic sentence and tag it with "I'm having the thought that," then set it on the shelf. Stitch the move is the smallest wise behavior you can do while still hot. A clean ask, a 90 and back, a 2-syllable no. Seal with a signal is your personal end of reset cue. The desk lamp turned off, the wrist rinse, the boundary sentence spoken once. The spiral will still spin. You won't go down the drain. One evening, a kitchen smelled like garlic and steam, plates clinked, voices rose. Sal said something careless. Ine felt the hook labeled contempt catch deep. Spot. Soften, long exhale, hand on the counter's cool edge. Strip the story, I'm having the thought that he never respects me. Shelf it. Stitch the move, I'm strung and I want this to go well. 90 seconds, water, then I'll say the one thing I need. Seal, force it on, cold on wrists, lamp on the stove, clicked off for a beat like a gavel. They resumed. The conversation wasn't cinematic. It was human and smaller than the old fights. That's the power of a reset loop that's practiced when the house is calm. Feel your forearms meeting the air, the micro-cool that means blood is where it needs to be. Taste a trace of dryness on your tongue, swallow once. You'll keep progress visible with the RAS Highlight Reel. Each night, you recall 3 moments when you flipped the switch or held a line, and you replay them for 10 seconds each in first person, with sensory detail. I felt the mugs cool, I said, Tuesday by 10, my shoulders dropped. You are training your gatekeeper to mark these as significant so tomorrow it notices similar handles faster. This isn't gratitude theater, it's memory consolidation with intention. Pair the reel with the Stress Ledger Closeout at week's end. Think of it as bookkeeping for your nervous system. You open the ledger and write 2 columns, but you speak them softly instead of making a list in your head. In one, you name the specific stressors that taxed you: 3 late nights, unclear ask from X, family tension Thursday. In the other, you log the tools you used and the adjustments you'll make: sanctuary block protected Wednesday, agreement architecture needed earlier, boundary beam softened dinner. Then you run micro mourning for one small cost you paid. I mourn the lost walk Tuesday. The ledger's purpose is not to rebuke you. It's to prove to your body that you are keeping accounts and will change the budget. Your amygdala trusts stewards who count. You'll add a rehearsal method for future heat called future pacing. Actors call it blocking a scene before opening night. Athletes call it visualization. You'll treat it like pre-wiring the corridor you want to walk. You pick tomorrow's hot scene and run it once in your mind with breath and micro-sensations included. See the table, smell the coffee ghost, feel the chair's edge under your fingers, hear your voice say the truth in 12 on a long exhale. Then you let the movie go. Do not loop, you are not auditioning for control. You're giving your nervous system a glimpse of the path so it recognizes it under adrenaline. The rehearsal makes the first step easy enough to take when the lights come up. At a glass table that carried fingerprints like smudged constellations, Karim anticipated a board question about runway. Old Karim would flood with slides. He future-paced the night before. He breathed, felt the laptop's cool lid, heard himself say, "We have 12 months, 3 levers, I propose we pull a now." The next day he said the line with a body that already knew the shape of it. He didn't erase fear, he gave it rails. Notice the light in your room, warm, cool, a slant across the floor, and name it. That small act keeps your language online. You'll loop back to community because identity is contagious. When you steady, rooms study you even if no one says a word. Make it easy to catch steadiness by creating a microculture with 3 cues: the calm start, the clean ask norm, and the repair ritual. The calm start is 2 breaths at the top of meetings without commentary. The clean ask norm is ending agenda items with 1 ask, 1 owner, 1 time. The repair ritual is a public bridge back when heat spills. "I snapped. That's on me. Here's my repair." These cues aren't policies, they're texture. Over months, teams adopt the texture and call it culture. Anecdote from an open-plan office where the carpet held the day's footsteps like a soft ledger. Rita managed operations for a non-profit. She introduced calm starts without fanfare, 2 breaths while screens loaded. She enforced clean asks with gentle consistency. When she flared in a budget review, she walked back in after 90 seconds and ran a bridge back. Over a quarter, meetings shortened, escalations softened, and the intern who had braced every morning started arriving with shoulders an inch lower. Rita didn't write a manifesto. She put her nervous system to work on the room like a tuning fork. Feel your feet, spread your toes against the floor or inside your shoes. You're going to install a maintenance pairing, morning recon and evening integration, so the day has bookends strong enough to carry the middle. Morning recon is 1 minute to check the map. 1 breath, 1 values vector sentence for the first block, 1 spine spoken out loud. Evening integration is 90 seconds. A RAS Highlight Reel clip, a single line to future you, thread left here, and 1 gratitude in shadow line. These small rituals keep neural pathways fed. Neuroplasticity is not a lecture, it's a diet. Feed it regularly with tiny, dense calories. Sometimes the long-run work is threatened by a familiar saboteur: boredom. No alarms, no heroes, just repetition. Boredom is the reflex dressed as novelty. You'll counter it with the momentum micros, 5-second actions that renew movement. Close the tab and open the file. Stand and trace a rectangle with your eyes. Place your hand on your sternum and drop your shoulders. Whisper your spine once. These are not hacks, they're oxygen sips. Enough sips and the fire doesn't die between logs. On a grey afternoon that felt like chewed paper, Mina stared at a blank slide deck. No panic, just the static that breeds avoidance. She ran 3 micros in 20 seconds, stood, traced the window frame with her eyes, whispered, "Because clarity matters," before 4:10 write the first sentence, touched the keyboard. Motion, then momentum, then relief. Taste your breath again, the mild mineral of the room, the way your exhale warms the upper lip. You'll also build an inoculation against 2 illusions that rob steely progress: the finish line myth and the failure totem. The myth says 1 big achievement will fix your nervous system forever. The totem says 1 public misstep defines you. Antidotes are the rolling horizon and the failure sandbox. Rolling horizon means when you reach a milestone, you perform a tiny ceremony, a sip of water by a window, a whispered good. Then you shift the map forward 1 tile. No drumline, no collapse. Your body learns progress isn't followed by a crash. The failure sandbox is a bounded space where you practice rough moves, giving notes, new openings, sharp asks, on low stakes, logging lessons with after-action whispers. failure stops being a god and becomes a teacher who charges a small fee. At a small rehearsal room that smelled like dust and velvet, Danny tried a new keynote open with 3 colleagues as audience. She flubbed the turn, words tangling. Old story, it's ruined. Sandbox rules, 5 reps log 1 lesson. She ran the loop, learned her mouth needed the word because to bridge wrote it into the script. Later, on the real stage, her body found the bridge because it had paid the fee in a sandbox and left with a receipt. There's a deep current under all this technique, self-trust, not arrogance, not bravado, the quiet sense that the person steering your hours has your best in mind. You build it with receipts, little proofs logged, rituals kept, repairs made. You'll formalize receipts with the keeper's ledger once a month. 1 page only. You write 5 moments where you stayed with yourself when it would have been easier to please, to sprint, to disappear. You write 1 cost you paid and 1 gift you received. You sign it, date it, and put it away. Signatures have power. They tell your brain, we are responsible for this life and we're doing it on purpose. Feel your shoulders, drop them a notch. Place 2 fingers at your pulse for 3 beats and let that tempo set the pace for your next words. There's a story from a winter hallway that drafts cold air under the door. Jonah once measured worth in crises survived. He decided to measure it in steadiness given. Over a year he ran morning recon, the loop, the ledger. He still forgot, flared, spiraled. He also repaired, recalibrated, returned. By late autumn, his wife said, at a sink with steam curling up, "You're different, not louder, truer." He didn't get a medal. He got Tuesday nights that felt like a life. That more than any applause is why this matters. You might worry that all this structure will calcify you. It won't if you remember the design principle beneath it, rhythm over rigidity. A disciplined musician can improvise because rhythm lets invention land. Your rhythms, breath, beacon sentences, ledgers, reels, make room for play, surprise, tenderness. They free you from the performance of control and give you the presence of choice. Before we close today, run a quick integration. Sit or stand with your feet making honest contact. Breathe 4-4-6 twice. Whisper your Horizon 1 scenes for the week. Name your Horizon 2 systems you'll keep. Speak your Horizon 3 sentence in future use voice. Soften at the jaw as you listen to it. Prime with a keeper's question for your next hour. Promise 1 after action, whisper afterward. Place your hand on your sternum. Feel the give under bone, the warmth. Let your eyes land on a horizontal line and widen your field so corners come back into view. And hear this identity turn as the steady through-line of the whole book you are writing with your minutes. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper, not the storm. You are the builder of rooms where your best moves are easy because you laid the tools where your hands can find them in the dark. When you forget, you run spiral reset. When you remember, you run the loop. When you doubt, you open your ledger and read your own receipts. The person you've been practicing being is real, not because you declared it, but because you behaved it into your nervous system until it felt like home. Tomorrow you will not wake up perfect. You will wake up practiced. You will walk the corridor you rehearsed, move 1 tile, log 1 line, praise 1 breath. You will widen windows, climb ladders, hold boundaries, ask clearly, and end the day with a reel that teaches your gatekeeper how to spot the next handle. This is how long-run lives are built, not by epiphany, but by returning to the post with kind precision, beam steady, feet warm against the floor of an ordinary room. You've built the scaffolding and the steel, now you'll make the light transferable. Change becomes permanent when it flows through you to others, when your steadiness helps a room steady itself. This isn't about becoming a guru. It's about becoming a keeper whose presence is a usable tool in ordinary places. Today you'll install 2 final frameworks. the Keeper's Circle and the Signal Sabbath, and a closing ritual called the 60-second Benediction. The circle turns your growth into a practice shared with 2 or 3 people, so accountability becomes warmth, not pressure. The Sabbath creates one recurring pocket where you deliberately stop optimizing and let the nervous system remember what unhurried feels like. You'll leave with a map for what to do when life knocks the wind out of you and when success tries to make you sprint until your legs forget how to walk. Feel the air sliding along your upper lip as you exhale. Let your shoulders loosen one notch. Touch the nearest edge and notice its texture as if you've never felt it. The Keeper's Circle has 3 roles: witness, mirror, and lantern, and they rotate. The witness listens for 5 minutes without fixing. The mirror reflects a single behavior and a single body cue they noticed. Jaw softer when you asked clearly, eyes wider when you paused. The lantern asks one question that points forward. What smallest wise move will you try before Thursday? Circles meet for 20 minutes, max, often standing. You begin with 2 long exhales in sync. You end with 1 line of gratitude aimed at a behavior, not a personality. This simplicity is intentional. Under stress, elaborate rituals die. The circle survives because it's light enough to carry. There's an evening in a warm kitchen that smells like orange peel and steam. You and 2 friends lean against the counter, mugs in hand. You run the circle. Witness, you speak about a boundary you held and the stomach drop after. Mirror, your friend says, your voice dropped when you named the time, and you realize your chest felt broader when you did. Lantern, the question lands, what would make that drop arrive 1 breath sooner next time? You answer, phone in drawer at 5:55. 20 minutes later, you're laughing about nothing. You don't call it therapy, you call it Tuesday. But the nervous system registers a truth. You are not carrying this alone. Scan your body. Find the warmest place and the coolest. Let the contrast teach your attention to hold 2 things at once. The Signal Sabbath happens once a week for 90 minutes. You schedule it like a Tier 1 meeting. You do 3 things only. You walk without input for 15 minutes. You sit and watch light for 5, through leaves, across a wall, over skin, and you choose one old joy and do it at beginner speed. No metrics. No posting. You can stir a pot and smell the steam. You can draw a shaky line that becomes a bird. You can lie on a floor and feel the grain under your shoulder blades. The Sabbath is not productive. It's restorative. Parasympathetic tone rises. The brain stops scanning for improvement and remembers how to simply be. When you return, you make better decisions not because you tried harder, but because you subtracted noise. An anecdote from a Sunday with the scent of rain on pavement. Aria had turned growth into a spreadsheet. Gains were real. Joy felt like a cached file she couldn't reload. She started a Sabbath at dawn, a slow walk with wet air in her nose. 5 minutes of watching light discover the rim of a chipped bowl. Then she played 3 chords on an old guitar until the strings left soft lines on her fingertips. Later that week, she felt the same warmth at her sternum when she declined a meeting that didn't need her. The same breath that moved through the chords moved through the no. Practice had finally met pleasure. Her body trusted the path because it led somewhere that felt like home. Listen for the faintest sound, an appliance exhaling, a bird negotiating a branch. Name it silently. You are building a bridge for the days that crack open without notice. When grief arrives, when illness shortens your breath, when the job or love or city ends, you will not be a machine that malfunctions. You will be a keeper who knows which 3 moves still work in rubble. The framework is release, receive, re-enter. Release means you drop obligations that belong to the performance version of you. You email 3 lines. I've had a rupture, I'm stepping back. I'll circle on Friday with a simple plan. Receive means you let the body be honest. You cry without narrating, you lie down without declaring defeat, you allow help without inventing debt. Re-enter means you return with a single thread you can hold, 1-4-4-6 breath before messages, one clean ask about the one decision that moves the hour, one circle check-in by phone. You are not strong because you never fall. You are strong because you return gently, quickly, and keep the dignity of your hours intact. Feel the floor through your feet. Spread your toes slightly, let your ankles soften. You'll need a companion for success spikes too. They can hijack you as fast as loss. The framework is anchor, apportion, aim. Anchor means you do one non-negotiable body ritual after wins, a slow glass of water by a window, both hands on the sill, eyes on a horizontal line. Apportion means you decide what portion of the win becomes fuel and what portion becomes margin. You don't roll all gains into bigger bets. Aim means you pick one value to amplify with the momentum rather than five. After praise, you are tempted to sprint into everything. The anchor keeps you human, the apportion keeps you solvent, the aim keeps you honest. A team in a room with dry erase ghost lines on glass shipped a release that sang. Applause, confetti on screens, dopamine jukebox. Their lead, Matteo, walked to the window and let both palms rest on cool pain. Anchor, he told the team softly, we'll apportion. One win becomes a week of debt paid on and one small bet, no sprawling. Aim, kindness in the update to users, clarity in the next scope. The sprint stayed brisk without the self-sabotage of victory laps disguised as work. The feeling was unusual, pride without hangover. Smell whatever faint scent is nearby, paper, citrus, dust kissed by sun. Bring your tongue down from the roof of your mouth. Let your shoulders hang like coats on pegs. The final ritual is the 60-second benediction. You can run it any time a day ends, a meeting, a commute, a story. It has 4 lines whispered on a long exhale. Line 1 honors the body. Thank you, breath, for returning me. Line 2 honors the choice. Thank you, keeper, for choosing a wise inch. Line 3 honors the cost. I acknowledge what it took. Line 4 sets a gentle compass. Tomorrow, 1 inch more toward. You fill the blank with your live value, clarity, kindness, courage. The benediction is not mystical. It is a nervous system bookmark that says, we end on purpose here. In a quiet apartment with a refrigerator's soft motor and the smell of soap in the air, you stand by a window where the night holds the reflections of books and your face. You whisper the 4 lines. Your throat thickens at line 3. That's okay. Tears are weathered too. When the whisper finishes, something unclenches in your jaw. Sleep finds you because ending found you first. There's one more story, because endings deserve a human face. A fall afternoon, yellow leaves pressed flat on a sidewalk, a post-it on a desk that said switch first. A manager named Hyojin had a final performance review with someone who wasn't making it. Old reflexes were 2 radio stations, perform kindness until words had no edges, or swing the blade of clarity without staying in the room. She had practiced a year. She ran Horizon, handle human in the lobby, palm on a cool stone column. She walked in with the values vector humming, choose, consider, ask, truth in 12 landed, warm and firm. We are ending this role, I want dignity, here's support. The other person's face went through weather. Hyojin ran consent loops, asked 1 real question, offered 2 clear paths and stayed. After, she washed her wrists in a stainless steel sink that smelled like lemon soap, and the water carried away the heat. She breathed the benediction. She did not feel heroic. She felt like a keeper who stayed with herself so she could stay with another human in a hard room. That feeling was the point of a year of practice and the beginning of another. Check your breath now, 4 in, 4 hold, 6 out. Anchor your gaze on one horizontal line. Let your fingers find a texture. Whisper your values as verbs. You've assembled a language your nervous system speaks under pressure. You will forget words. You will remember the posture. You will forget posture. You will remember the breath. You will forget breath. You will remember the sentence, I am the awareness, not the emotion. And then another day you will forget even that and remember only your feet on a floor. That is enough to start the loop. You are not fragile, you are layered. Each layer holds when another slips. Tomorrow morning you will run the first true minute. You will pick 1 inch and walk it. In the afternoon a hook will catch. You will spot and soften and strip and stitch. In the evening you will praise one behavior, not your worth, because your worth is not wobbling with your hours. On Sunday you will watch light and remember that the room has a window and the window has a sky and the sky is patient. You will speak to yourself in a voice you built and kept. You will give that steadiness to rooms that need it, not because you owe them, but because that is what your light naturally does when it isn't being stolen by reflex. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the keeper, not the storm. You are the lighthouse on a coast that still has weather, tending your wick, turning your lens, steady through fog and fireworks, rain and applause. When the world rushes you, you will lean on breath. When the mind shrinks your window, you will widen it with touch and names. When the old story bites, you will tag it and tuck it. When the boundary wobbles, you will beam it in 3 lines. When the decision stacks, you will spine it. When the fragile returns, you will ratchet. When the proud returns, you will anchor and apportion and aim. You will keep the circle, you will honor the Sabbath. You will bless your day with 60 seconds of truth. And when this book's voice fades, your body will remember the handles. Your hands will find them in the dark. Your life will keep handing you back to yourself. That is the switch. That is the choice. That is your response.